So last time we left off with the definitions. We were going over these definitions. So let's see if we what we didn't go over, what we didn't get a chance to go over. All right. We didn't get a lot. Damn, we didn't get into a lot. Or we did status. We did status. I think is that where we left off? We left off at status. All right. So we're gonna go over these definitions that we didn't get into last week, and then we're gonna go over the Aboriginal connection to the land, or how they pretty much jacked us for the land, and how do we get that back, or is it feasible to get it back like most Moors are trying to do today? Is that shit talking Trey up in here?
I wasn't talking.
Yeah, he here. Yeah, he here.
Yeah, I'm here. God damn it. I'm trying to Phoenix more of my shit up. All right, so I'm gonna shut up.
Respect, young Phoenix.
Hey, dragon moors are needed every now and then, brother. It's a balance game. Just know when to play the dragon card.
I feel like we're all dragging Moors deep down when it comes to the right situation.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so we're gonna go over. I think we went over status last time. How's that?
I believe we were supposed to go over the questionnaire. I think this time.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that later towards the end. We got a lot of stuff actually we didn't get to last time. Like I had a lot of definitions to show you guys. So basically, when you're reestablishing your status, you're looking for what term you're going to call yourself, or what title or what persona you're going to have in as far as the public status, the public eye. So you can be just a self-governing citizen or person, a self-governing Aboriginal citizen to the land, or Aboriginal inhabitant of the land. You can get with other people who have that same status, where you've severed your contracts and you guys are forming. Now you can form a political body or a state. Excuse me. Now you can you come together, you have your own customs, your own laws, you're independent. As we researched the term sovereign, means to be totally independent. So if you partake, or if you take on that aspect of the status, then you can call yourself sovereign. Then that's the term sovereign takes on when you're a part of a political body. Then you can be a state citizen, which is really what you are anyway. You're citizens of the state because they were the nations. So state. And this is where it comes in, because this is where the sovereignty was taken from. It was taken out of the states and put into the federal government, which became basically our Lord and Master. So state. So people permanently occupying a fixed territory bound together by common law habits and custom into one body politic, exercising through the medium of an organized government independent sovereignty and control over all persons and things within its boundaries, capable of making war and peace, and of entering into international relations, which are usually contracts, with other communities of the globe. Now, one of the component commonwealths or states of the United States. This term is sometimes applied Also to governmental agencies authorized by the state as municipal corporations. And we're going to see that definition as well. So coming together, as you can see, forming a body politic, organized government, have yourself some land where you can boundary it off, and you can create your own state, get your flag, get your seals going. All of that is lawful, international law. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, as far as trying to take the land back is what everybody else is trying to do. That's not necessarily feasible. So you want to gain this information and create a new pathway. And that's why we were so great in the past, is because we were creators. We created everything. This whole system that everybody's working off of, that's our shit. Like every fucking aspect of it. Damn trade, the maritime. I mean, everything in this shit we created. So why the hell are we trying to go back and
your audio is messing up, Kev?
Huh?
Your audio was going in and out.
Is it?
Sounded like a transformer.
Oh, okay. Is it better? Hello? Yo.
No, I think that was Trey. His thing is making.
Oh.
Yeah, his audio's going out.
Oh, yeah. But trying to getting back to what we used to be as far as our essence, creators. You know what I'm saying? We need to create a new way of being. That's the things that happened in the past, all that old law, all that stuff they did. That was them. That was the Moors in the past. That's what they did for their time. That was a different time. We're in a new time. They didn't have fucking Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all this crazy shit that we have today in the world. So we need to find a new way for us to be today, and also reclaiming that status. Though you want to be working from that vehicle, that's going to be your armor. But we need to find a new way of being able to reestablish what we used to have. So as you can see, basically the stipulations of it is just coming together and being of one mind and one gaining, like I said, gaining territory, getting our own customs. What do we hold sacred? What can we agree on that we all hold sacred? And so that's how you're going to recreate your sovereignty here in this land. All right. Oops. So we're past that. So maritime. So we go over maritime law? This definition.
Meaning the
just the legal definition of maritime. First of all, maritime jurisdiction and
I believe we did. I have a screenshot of it in my phone, so we did.
Okay. So persona. Oh yeah, we did this last time too. Hold on. All right, did we go over all the way over persons? We went all the way over persons, chattel.
Yeah, all the connecting etymology.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. License fee without precedence.
Oh, just real quick, I was telling this to David earlier. So just going over the terms of why over the Moors. Okay, so there's a term called tawny Moors. Okay, tawny just means brown with the predominance of yellow or orange. Basically, it's like it's the swarthy people of the Arabs, like the Arabs or people over in in Iraq, or all those people over in that land, where they try to make it seem like because they have a different landmass, just a different imaginary line. So, they're Arab. Arab only means desert nomad. It's more of a language of the people who were roaming the desert, and it's not a race. So all those people were actually Moors too. They were called tawny Moors. So get that term down. So when you talk to people and they try to say, well, no, the Moors in the day, they were Arabs. They weren't Moors, or they were Moors. They were just called tawny Moors. Let's see. Presumption. Did we do presumption? Yeah, we did presumption. Oh, we did get over a lot of this stuff. All right. Did we do presumption? Did we do that?
Unlawful taking of anything.
All right. So what's happening is when you're getting pulled over, anything happens to you at law, it's a presumption of law. Okay, this is what they're working off of. Remember, they're a corporation, so they just throw some shit out at you and hope it sticks. So they'll say, hey, you're a citizen, you owe us money. That's a presumption of law. Then it's up to you to come back and rebut that presumption. So see, presumptio from the Latin, a presumption, also intrusion or the unlawful taking of anything. So this is what they're doing. They're presuming that they can come and just snatch whatever that you got, and it's up to you to say, hey, you know, it's like being in jail. If you're in jail, I don't know how many people y'all know used to be in jail, but I know a couple of homies that used to be in jail. If you're in jail and you sitting at the food table and somebody come up and grab your food and you don't say nothing, you don't stab that food with your fork, then he presume that you giving him his food, unless you kind of hoard your food. This is why they hoard their food. Nah, homie, you can't get that.
Mm-hmm. Meal ticket, nigga.
That's right. So, you know what I'm saying? It's the same way. That's how they do it. The government is the big gangster in jail. They just coming out like, what you got on my lunch? So if you don't say, I ain't got nothing on your lunch, they presume you buying it. It's on you. So presumptio ad juris, a legal presumption or presumption of law that is one in which the law assumes the existence of something until it is disproved by evidence. See that? A conditional, inconclusive, or rebuttable presumption. And then presumptio juris et de jure, a presumption of law and of right, a presumption which the law will not suffer to be contradicted. So then there's you can have such a preponderance of evidence that the law just like, this dude, he can't be wrong. Like, look at all the shit he got to prove what he's saying. Like, come on, man. Like, he got way too much evidence for for what he's saying to be false. So we're just gonna go with that. So that's why when you're coming at the court, you should have as much evidence to explain your side of what you're trying to say as you can. I call it loading your gun with titanium, antimantium, you know what I'm saying, indestructible bullets, hollow point bullets. Don't leave nothing to chance. When you go in there and you firing off your bullets at them, make sure everyone count. So, and then this is just the regular definition of presumption. So presumption of fact, an inference, affirmative or disaffirmative of the truth or falsehood of any proposition or fact drawn by a process of probable reasoning in the absence of actual certainty of its truth or falsehood, or until such certainty can be ascertained. So it's like, oh, well, we don't know, so we're just gonna figure it out. You know, we're smart motherfuckers. So let's sit back. Well, you know, everybody else is a corporation, you know, under our government. So he must be a corporation too. So jack him up. Then it's up to you to come and be like, hey, partner, check this paperwork out right here, dude. No, we don't get down like that. You handle them over there, I'm over here. So it will be a presumption until you present evidence otherwise. So then these are presumptions of law. Okay. That was a presumption of fact. This is a presumption of law. A rule of law that the courts and judges shall draw a particular inference from a particular fact or from particular evidence unless and until truth of such inference is disproved. A rule which a certain case either forbids or dispenses with any ulterior injury. So just going back, so all this is saying is, like I was saying before, is when you're doing your paperwork, have as much actual fact in there as you can to dispute whatever you're trying, or to prove whatever you're saying, and to dispute any challenge that they would put forth coming back at you. Okay.
And this would be via the case law and indicating
Case
the
law,
file
case
numbers.
law. This is why, see, most, let me go up here. So most sovereign people, when they're coming at the government, they're doing common law. They're coming with the common law side of it. And in their version of common law, excuse me, is we're going to use these court cases. The sovereign, the sovereign movement has been around, or people have been embracing their sovereign rights for since this time, since the system began. So there's all kinds of cases within the Supreme Court that people have come up there and said, look, you can't force yourself on the sovereign people's rights. And so this is what they use. So like those militia, or those prepper people, who those Caucasian sovereign cats. So this is what they'll use. They'll use this all day long. Common law this, Supreme Court law this, bam, bam. They got that all day. Now, what you want to do is match it with codes, because there are codes that says exactly what the common law is saying, which is why they pay some lawyers so much money. The lawyer can go in there and find the codes. He ain't got to do all this. I'm a common law. It's right here. This is why you go to school for damn near for all this damn time. So he can go right to the damn law, right to them codes, pull out what he needs to pull out to make his client, immune, so to speak, to the law, and slide on through. Now, if you have both things, if you have your common law, first of all, if you walk into the court and you invoke common law jurisdiction, those codes don't even matter. What you're using them for is support, in support of your argument. So you're coming in with common law cases. Supreme Court says, bam, 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 you can't infringe on this right because of this. Supreme Court says you can't infringe upon the right because of that. And you're just hitting him, bam, bam, bam. Then every time you hit him, though, with a Supreme Court case, you're going to hit him with a code, a federal code, or, uniform code, whatever it is. So right here, these two things are matching up. It's as above, so below. It's the yin and yang of law. And so when you have those, there's nothing else they can say. Look, it's in this law, but plus it's in the law that you're following. So how can I be wrong? Well, all right, let me up out of here. I'm out. Assalamu alaikum. So, this is why you want to learn everything about what you're trying to say. You want to learn all the law of what you're trying to say so it can back you up. Oh wait. Hold on, do I have this in there? Oh, okay. So a free man might be a man of small estate, dependent on a lord. So this is the feudal. This goes back to that feudal stuff. So yes, this is giving liberty. Every man, not himself a lord, was bound to have a lord, or be treated as untrustworthy of a free man's right. Among free men, there was a difference in their estimation. So this means they had different status. Free men had different status. And so every man, not himself a lord, either you're going to be the top dude or you slave. Every man, not himself a lord, was bound to have a lord, or be treated as unworthy of a free man's right. So again, back to status. And if it's one thing I'm going to embed into you, it's the idea that this whole thing is a game of who are you? As literally what this shit is. And when we go over the Dred Scott case in a second, you're going to really see. I was reading this again, and literally I fell out laughing. I literally fell out laughing, crying on the floor because of how the judge is talking in the case. He is so fucking funny. Watch, when we go over, you guys, you're gonna see how fucking funny this dude is. But so, free men. So showing this goes back to the feudal time. So having a lord. So feudal comes from this. Feud, a holding of tenure where the vassal in place of military service, makes his return in grain or money, distinguished from war holding, which is the military tenure of the country. So we go down here to Fior, Scott law, the tenant or vassal of a foe or a foe vassal, and this is where you get feud. The feudal law, an estate in land held of a superior on condition of rendering him services. Okay, this is where we're coming back to. The feudal lord in America, or in the corporate, is the corporate government. They're your feudal lord, and everyone else is in the fiefdom. They're giving you a little bit of piece of land, and in order for your what's called allegiance, which we're going to go over in a second. There's two terms you want to write down. There's allegiance and alliance. These are two different terms. You give allegiance, which is an obligation. It's contractual. Alliance is something. Alliance is contractual too, but it's on your own terms. It's equity. It's an equity contract, whereas allegiance is more of a unilateral or one-sided contract. So, an inheritable right to use an occupation, to the use and occupation of lands held on condition of rendering services to the lord or proprietor, whom himself retains the property in the lands. So in the sense of the word is the same as a fode or fodum or fee or fief. So now about to go here, a fee, a charge fixed by law for services. And so this is where this whole thing comes from, a charge. When you're given something, you're getting charged for it. And so here is the actual fee. So when you're given a land, a fiefdom or whatever it's called, a fee. Okay, fee, this is the etymology of fee. Estate in land, originally on the feudal tenure, payment for services or privileges. Now, if you go all the way down here, feudos, fodium, which has been derived from the Frankish fohad, cattle, property. See, what started to happen is the sovereign or the king, they had to figure out a different way how to be able to run the land. They just couldn't. Ordinary slavery wasn't going to do anymore. So, and as the population gets bigger and bigger, everybody's fucking, and so we're getting bigger and bigger, and we're expanding, and we're taking over more lands. It's just harder to control. So, how do we have to do that? And then we have to give some land. We have to start letting off a little bit of the land. As we saw in the first class, this is the beginning of the feudal terms. King gives down some lands to some lords for some protection protection of knights. Then the lords give some land to the knights for their protection. Then the knights give some land to the peasants or the serfs and for food, and then in exchange for protection. So you got all these people on this land. How do we treat them? So to the king, they're pretty much nothing really to the king. He's so far away, he's so disconnected that this is why he is who he is. He's a person who is on high. So to him, those people are just like animals. They're his pets. They're his cattle. So this is where their stuff came from. They started to count them as head. So that's where the word capital and cattle and all these different terms from. It comes from the ancient word kaput, which means head, to count as a head of cattle. So this is where all this shit goes back to. So today, when you're buying a home makes you a modern day serf. It's modern day serfdom. The whole thing is called, that's why you pay a mortgage. It's called a mortgage. It's from the term morte, the Latin mort is dead, death pledge. So mortgage is a pledge. So it's from the word death and pledge. It's a death pledge, literally. When you're pledging to be obligated for the rest of your life. It's a serf. It makes you connected to the land. You can't ever leave because now you're in debt for the rest of your damn life. Or pretty much, unless you hit it big, you know what I'm saying? You hit the lottery and then you can pay off the loan real quick.
You still got property tax perpetually.
Well, yeah, see, and that's because you don't own the land. And because you don't own the land outright. So, you know what I'm saying? You see how it comes down. They just basically created modern day serfs. And basically they created modern day serfs, and then getting you, that's your whole goal, is to be the serf. Everybody's whole purpose in life is to get that house, so they can get that house and boom, 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 and now get some equity and pay. Now you can, dude, that's a whole different game, but that's not what you want to do. The property game is a scam.
So, too late, Kev. Too late.
It literally makes you a serf.
That's the American dream, man. You can't be telling me that.
Yeah.
Hey, don't tell me that, Kev. Please don't tell me that.
Just real quick, if y'all understand, you don't want to do that. If you buy property, you want to buy the property and actually rent it, and then you want to rent as well, so you can stay mobile. You want to stay mobile, move around, and then also have property where you can also lease out. That's a different game, though. We're gonna get back on that. So, let's see. Okay, so this is offer. So what are the rest of these terms? These are, this is the other terms from the from Corbin's on contracts. So this is an offer. So in the contract we have offer, acceptance, and consideration, right? So the an offer is expressed by one party of his assent to certain defined terms, provided that the other party involved in the bargaining transaction will likewise express his assent to the identical same terms. See, now this is express his assent to the identical same terms. If you don't express your assent to those terms, then there's all kind of shit behind that. This is why you're able to sever your contracts or rescind your contracts with the government. An offer looks forward to an agreement to mutual expressions of assent. Mutual expressions of assent. You know how to get that mutual expression of assent? If you put your name down on that piece of paper and you don't say without prejudice or all rights reserved, that means you mutually assent to everything that's in this contract. Okay. It is believed that the best short description of this change is that an offer creates a power of acceptance in the offeree. We were getting into this last time. It will not be disputed by anyone that after an offer is made, a voluntary expression of assent by the offeree is all that is necessary to create what we call contract. That is what is meant. Excuse me, that is what is meant, and it is all that is meant by saying that an offer creates a power of acceptance in the offeree. So literally, if somebody comes to me, I have the power. They come to me with an offer and say, hey, dude, how about, you know what I'm saying, I give you, for such and such, I give you this. I have the power. I can be like, no, well, how about you give me 2 of these, and then I'll give you my. This is what they're doing. You see this every day when they're negotiating in sports, right before the draft and all that type of stuff. That's what they're doing. That's the offering. I give you 3 first-round draft picks for whoop-de-whoop. I'm like, nah, I'll take 5 first-round draft picks. And then that's the offer. That's the power of acceptance.
I was watching the show called Supernatural, right?
Uh-huh.
And basically, there's a part where the Leviathan is making a contract with Satan for Earth and all of its inhabitants and contents. And basically, you know how Satan is basically like a lawyer, so he rolled out this long ass contract. But then the Leviathan sat down next to him, and he was writing that. He was going over each individual line. He was like, "No, change that 2 to 4." He's like, oh, damn. And he did that in the entire contract.
That constitutes a counteroffer, though, no?
Yeah, you have the power to do it. Anything that you sign your name to, anything that you sign, you have the power to do that. You can, when somebody gives you something to sign your name, you can make a line right through whatever the hell you don't like and put a different term on there. And then somebody be like, well, what are you doing? Well, it's a contract. I have a right to do this. I don't agree with that. You tell them, I don't agree with that right there. So I just put what, bam, bam, bam. And they won't understand, but you have the right to do that. You can tell them, well, look, dude, you can, according to Uniform Commercial Code, I have the right to reserve my rights in contract. And so, and also, and this is a contract. So I have the right to negotiate within contract as well. So this is what we're doing. Now, if you're saying that you're trying to tell me that you're trying to force a contract on me, then that's a whole different game. I can actually bring a lawsuit against you for that. But that's a whole different ball. That's something else. So just make sure you reserve your rights. And so with respect to with respect to the resulting legal relations, offer and acceptance may be defined as thus: an offer is an act on the part of one person whereby he gives to another the legal power of creating the obligation called contract. An acceptance is the exercise of the power conferred by the offer by the performance of some other act or acts. Both offer and acceptance must be acts expressing assent, meaning you have to be expressly agreeing. Like you have to show expressly that I agree with what the hell is going on, or this contract ain't legal. Or it's presumed to be legal until I rebut it as legal, until I come back and say, you know what? Nah, this is whack. Okay, again, so this power by the offeree will create, a new and very important change in the legal relations of the parties. But the power to bring about this important change by the act of acceptance is itself an important juristic fact, and it is the legal result of the offer standing quite alone. For this reason, it seems to be reasonable and convenient to say that the offer may be an operative fact creating a new legal relation, the relation of power in the offeree to create new changes in legal relations. Okay? That means you got the right to change it. That's all I just said right there. In legal relations, like, look, dude, I don't agree with that. Mark that out. Put this in there. Woo, 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 bam, bam, bam. So again, if you go for a loan from the bank, when a house loan, for a property loan or whatever, in those contracts, they're terming it that you're offering them, that you're coming to them to offer them. So that's why they create the power of acceptance, and they make the contract, because you're the offerer and the bank becomes the offeree, or the acceptor of the offer. And no one, yeah, go ahead.
They charge you a fee for actually coming to them.
Yep. That's how gangster they get with it. Man, it's the illest game, but it is a game. Just know that. It's not personal. You know what I'm saying? Don't even take it as that. It is all a game, and you just need to learn how to play it. Just like Monopoly. You know what I'm saying? How many times did your ass land on somebody else's boardwalk and have to pay this nigga out before you understood? You got some strategy, like, all right, I ain't fucking with Park Place or Boardwalk if this nigga got it. So you got it's the exact same thing. Getting out of jail free. You know what I'm saying? Hey, let me buy that get out of jail free card from you, homie. I mean, we used to do deals like that. I'll give you $1,000 for that get out of jail free card. So it's learning how to play that game. This is why they created these games, the game of life. The game they're showing you. It's all about that. So birth. Okay, this is the true birth. The term birth. Right here, B-E-R-T-H. Convenient sea room. Give a wide berth to. All right. 17th century, situation or office on board ship. Appointment, job, sleeping place on board ship. Then in the 18th century, early variations, birth, B-Y-R-T-H. So they're all the same. So you see this I right here doesn't mean, and you see this E here doesn't mean it's different. Probably from bear with the TH with reference to the nautical sense of the verb sail in a certain direction, flowing down remember how we were on the first one, he talked about the birth canal and you're being the product flowing down your mother's birth canal on the waters. Same thing. When a ship sails with a large wind towards the land, we say she bears with the land. She bears in with the land. And when she would not come near the land, and near is spelled crazy there, but goeth more roomway than her course, we say she bears off. So giving birth into the dock, into the delivery room, to the doctor. These are all maritime legal terms, literally merchant terms. The parcel coming down the pathway, coming down your mother's birth canal, in the delivery room to be docked. And then fill out that certificate of registry for this parcel, which is that certificate of that birth certificate. And as we saw in the book of banking terms, a certificate is evidence of something owned. So this is all you guys right now. Sorry to say, I'm free by myself. So so this is another class of citizenship back in the Roman times, plebeian, called the plebiscites.
Please.
So to a member of the Roman plebs, okay, of low birth or rank. See this? From the Latin, plebeius, from plebs, commonality of ancient Rome, perhaps, and then relating to the Greek, plethos, multitude. So basically, it's just one of the lower. So you had the nobles, you had kind of a working upper class, say, or a working middle class. They were these are your professional type of people. Then you had hustlers, people who just hustled up on stuff. That's more the plebs. That was the cats who you see them out when you went on the Roman streets. And I suggest you guys watch the show Rome that came out on HBO. That broke off so much information about, especially law, about how the slaves were actually teaching the nobles. The slaves were Greek, and they were learned slaves. They had knowledge, and so they were actually teaching the Greeks. Teaching the Romans law, and so they were breaking this whole thing off. One dude said straw man. He said he said the word straw man. You're gonna be a straw man for court. I was like, what? He said that right on TV. I was like, all right, these dudes are with this bullshit. So, watch Rome if you guys want to get a better understanding of, this ancient law, that type of stuff.
Yo, Kev. I was looking up the term civilian, and it said that one who is versed in civil and Roman law. Would that be a plebeian but of a higher status?
Well, civil only means city. If you look up the word civil, it goes back to just the word city,
Right.
So,
I mean, who else would be versed in Roman law unless you were a part of Roman society?
Well, Roman law meaning like they were a major metropolitan place. So, a lot of this laws that pertain to cities come from Rome. That's why.
Right. And we have all just pure municipalities where we are, and they're all based on code.
Some municipalities, some incorporated towns, some unincorporated. You got. If you roll around, you can see different signs when you roll into different areas. The unincorporated boom boom of this, or the incorporated something of this, or the they're different. A lot of them are incorporated. Some of them are not for profit. So, I mean, it's all different.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought it was just, all general. Whenever I saw a city.
Not all of them are like that. They're all business statuses. So depending on how they want to run that city, they'll, that's the different persona they'll take on.
Right.
So again, here's pleb, the continuance. Ordinance approved the vote in the second sense, familiarized, blah, blah, blah. So, let's see. So this is what I was saying. So mortgage. Let me see if I can spin this around. Oop. All right. So mortgage, conveyance of property by a debtor to a creditor as security for money or debt. And the Spanish mortgage was established by the legal usage from the Old French mortgage, dead pledge, from mort, dead, taken from the popular Latin variation of mortus, of the Latin mortus, see mortal, and gage. So your mortgage is literally you pledged to the death to pay your creditor. You are a modern day serf. You are a land slave. Remember, serf is just a person who's unable to leave the land. And when you buy a house, that's what you do. And think about that though. Where the term house came from. The term house didn't mean a building. The house was the lord of the land. It was the house of this or the house of that. And so you were bound to the house. You were bound to the house of the landlord, right? Same thing. When you buy a house, you are bound to the land of the house that the land is on. It's the exact same thing. They just made you think a house was a building.
So quick question.
Uh-huh.
So how do you explain like neighborhood associations that give you taxes and fees just for living in a certain neighborhood?
Wait, what do you mean?
Neighborhood taxes. So in certain neighborhoods, like my mom, for example, she lives in a pretty decent neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
And so she has to pay taxes every year on top of the state tax just to live in that neighborhood. So I would assume they use that to keep the roads
Like an
paved
association,
and all that.
an association tax. What state do you live in?
HOA.
Delaware.
Oh yeah, he got an association.
Well, I don't live there. I domicile there.
That's what he's talking about, though. He's talking about association tax.
Yeah, association. There you go.
Pay that too.
Yeah.
In the Bronx.
Well, if you're
But I think that's because-
if you're part of it's called a
Contract.
tax, but it's like a dues.
Yeah, it's dues.
It's like
Mhm.
that. Like if you were, if you're part of a union, in order to benefit from everything within the union, you got to pay your dues. Same thing. If you're going to be a part of this community and all the benefits and privileges that the community provides, then you got to pay. Same thing, dude. I mean, that's nothing. You know what I'm saying? If you're a part of a group, you're supposed to be paying to be, to keep that, to the level of what you expect it to be while you join. So they call it a tax. You know what I'm saying? Well, it's not necessarily a tax. It's more like a dues. All right. I got this from Signature. So this is from Corbin's on Contracts. So further, it may be clearly understood that all those who sign shall be bound by contract, even though others to whom the document is presented. Hold on. Where did that go? Oh yeah, okay. So further, it may be clearly understood that all those who sign shall be bound by contract, even though others to whom the document is presented may fail to sign or assent. That means the person who's obligated in a contract is only the people who sign. Your signature is the most important, most powerful thing you have, the most valuable thing you have. The most valuable thing you have. A signature may be operative without respect to its position on the document. Like, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where you put it. If you put it in baby writing in the corner, fold it up, that's still your signature. Don't matter. So a signature may be operative without respect to its position on the document, although it is customary to sign at the end of the writing and beneath the written provisions. So going back to where you see me when I send my notice out to you or my invitation out to you, Kevin Barringer, all rights reserved. See, that's not at the end. That's literally where I put my name in at the beginning of the of the application. There must be satisfactory evidence that the signature was affixed with intent to authenticate and express assent to the entire document. Okay, there must be satisfactory evidence, and that's usually without your protest, or you reserving some type of right within the contract. One who signs his name to a writing that purports to be a contract does an act that is strong evidence that he intends to make himself a party thereto, bound as a promiser and entitled as a promisee. Even if he does not so intend, the principles of estoppel may bind him notwithstanding. Meaning, even if he didn't intend that, it doesn't matter. Like, meaning if he didn't intend to do so, it's going to hold up unless somebody refutes it. Unless somebody refutes, oh, well, he didn't know, and you have major evidence to prove that you were literally nescient, not ignorant. You were nescient. You had no knowledge. So it should not be so held, however, if the other parties know or have reason to know that such is not the intention. So let's go back and read that again. Even if he does not so intend, the principles of estoppel may bind him notwithstanding. It should not be so held, however, if the other parties know or have reason to know that such is not the intention. Okay, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the other dude knew that you didn't intend. And you need to make it expressly so that you didn't intend to be bound by this contract. So if one signs the contract and accompanies his signature by such descriptive words as agent or trustee, he may be held to have bound himself personally as a party to the contract. It should not be so held if the other parties knew better, or if the instrument as a whole indicates the contrary. So all that means is know what you're doing when you're signing that contract. Even if the other party knows what the hell is going on, you need to know. It doesn't matter if they know. You need to know what's going on. All right. Oh, check this out. Country. So just showing you how they separate the whole game is to separate you and keep us separate. That's the game to keep power. As long as we're separate, we're divided. There's no way we can come together. The word country, literally, the word country is to. Let's bring that. Let me make that bigger. So, country, etymologically, the meaning of country, virtually surroundings. It originated in the medieval Latin contractus, lying on the opposite side, an adjective formed from the proposition of contra, against, opposite. It literally, that's my country. Everything they got you talking about is being contrary, is being separate. So when that's my country. We're all one people. Literally, you're one human race. But in order to gain power, you can't understand that. You need to be this. You need to be black. Y'all need to be this. You need to be Italian. You need to be American. All of it is the biggest Wizard of Oz game in the world. A video you guys need to go on YouTube and watch is The Secrets of Oz. Okay, it's a documentary about the whole system of how they about the maritime law, how they placed us in contract slavery, all of that. But it's termed or based off the whole Wizard of Oz, because the guy who created the Wizard of Oz, he was actually warning us about the banking system, the Federal Reserve. which is what the silver slippers, the silver slippers and the yellow brick road and the gold and all that was about. He was talking about the gold, the money system. And so you go watch that. Go watch that. It's called The Secrets of Oz. It's an ill movie. I mean, an ill little documentary. So that's just something I found that I wanted to show you guys. So we're gonna watch a quick video real quick before we get into the Native Americans, brethren. So this is on the Olmecs. These are the first inhabitants of the Americas. And this is where all the different nations are birthed from the Olmecs. So check this out.
Now, without further ado, we will delve directly into the indigenous peoples of this land. The indigenous. When the enormous monoliths were uncovered from Mexico, the sculptured images that were carved to form 24-ton heads from a single mass of basalt rock had been discovered. No one suspected this mysterious part of a civilization that only seemed to have vanished. At the cultural paradox of this civilization, La Venta, 18 miles from the Gulf of Mexico, 4 colossal heads were unearthed. The monoliths had been carbon dated. The results of the carbon-14 test of the stone heads found in Mexico caused a startling uproar amongst archaeological circles. Various additional testing was performed. However, the earliest date that the carbon testing came up with regarding the stone images was the year 291 BC. As more diggings were performed in Middle America, larger heads were discovered. 24 tons was the average sum of the weight. The new discoveries were even more mysterious, for the colossal heads continued to turn up even earlier dates. 4 heads in all were excavated at the city of La Venta alone, with the largest head standing 9 feet tall. Ancient Middle American civilizations, or Mesoamerica antiquity, is divided into 3 epochs: archaic, before Christ; classic, during the first 1,000 years AD; and post-classic, from 1000 AD to Spanish conquest. The monolith of La Venta was dated and placed in the archaic period, which proved the existence of a civilization in Mesoamerica thousands of years before organized monotheistic religions. Perhaps more staggering than the result of the carbon dating of these stone figures is the apparent construction and proportions of the monoliths. According to archaeological circles, the statues were constructed from one massive chunk of basalt block mined from stone quarries 80 miles away and transported to the center of La Venta with a sum weight of 20 to 40 tons each. It seems these stones were rolled over vast tracts of land or transported down a river on wooden rafts, however, presenting somewhat of an illogical and even incomprehensible method of material transportation. The monoliths proved to be only elementary in cultural archaeology. At present, between 25 and 40 archaic period Mesoamerican sites have been discovered. The majority of these finds have occurred in the states of Veracruz, which totals 246 recorded pieces with over 180 sculptures, altars, and stone heads. The revelation of this hidden civilization reconstructed the indigenous history that has now been extended to reveal a hidden past. It is apparent that the archaic period preceded even some of the great civilizations of the East, 900 to 400 BC. The people of this period were not primates. These archaic indigenous inhabitants belonged to a class of Homo sapiens, thus leading to the belief that the ancient America, despite the narrow-minded kaleidoscope view of cave dwellers and tree climbers, was a highly advanced civilization. We see this in the advanced artistry and sculpturing, which was quite different than the art and sculpturing of tribal cultures. Mesoamerica archaeology proves enough data to suggest that these inhabitants were a high-status group with the presence of elite leaders, a military force, a political hierarchy, and a quite obviously, or at least sensible, penal system, as opposed to a primitive tribal culture's vigilante methods of punishment. Historians speculate on the actual racial identity of these inhabitants. Many hypotheses suggest that the archaic inhabitants were Mayan linguistic stock. The contradiction to this hypothesis would be that the inhabitants spoke an ancestral form of mixed Zoqueen. Other historians speculate that the people who populated Mesoamerica were Mongoloid people who crossed over between Siberia and Alaska and were called Paleo-Siberian or ice hunters. Upon research in the etymology of the term Paleo-Siberian, we find paleo from the Greek word pale to mean ancient or primitive. Siberian has dual meanings. Sib from the Greek word sipa to mean kinship, family related by blood, and Aryan from the Sanskrit word Arya to mean noble in reference to the Persian language. Arya also denotes a sub-tribe of people who migrated from Turkey into Palestine and were given the name Caucasian from the regions of the Caucasus Mountains. However, the stone images were not the depiction of Siberians or Mongoloids. The archaeologists are not in agreement with the identity of these inhabitants, or more correctly, have denied indisputable truth of their origin. However, since the mysterious unearthing of the ancient civilizations, one name has surfaced from later transcriptions. The name was Olmec. Who were these people called Olmec? Can we speculate that these people of the colossal heads were Asians who crossed the Bering Strait, or Siberian icemen who migrated from Europe? Jose Maria y Serrano, upon excavating one of the monolith heads in this region of San Andreas Tuxtla, published a short passage in the bulletin of the Mexican Geographical Statistical Society, and I quote, "As a work of art, it is without exaggeration a magnificent sculpture. But what most amazes me was the type that it represents, an Ethiopian African. I conclude that there had doubtlessly been black Negroids in this region from the very earliest ages of the world." Unquote.
Okay, so there's another part of this that we're gonna see as well. So I just wanted to summarize the beginning. So the Olmecs, very first people on this landmass. I think we talked about it a little bit on the first class, but you had when the land masses were together, they were called Pangea. Was Pan meaning all, Gaia, Gaia, Pangaea meaning earth. So all earth, it was all together. It was all one land mass. And so you had the Africans who just basically how we do today, you know, brothers, we just explore. We get up and we go, what's that over there? All right, I don't know, let's go. So same thing. Back in the day, you had basically most of the Olmecs were Dogons or Mali from Mali. And so they migrated over here, brought with them the rubber tree, planted the rubber tree. This is where you get the, you know, the rubber sap, where they make the balls, where the Mayans played that that game where they would play the ball game where they would have to hit the ball into the circle, the stone circle. Whoever won, they got sacrificed. So all of that came from the Mayans were descendants of Olmecs, which we're going to see in a second. But these were the people who came over here and populated this landmass first. They were all from Africa. They called these people the first Americans. You can go look that up as well. So this is where your connection to the landmass is going to be coming from. This is our descendancy. We've been here. We've always been here. You didn't get carted over here on no damn ships, packed up like sardines, which incidentally, that comes from us. When we used to pack them up on ships really tightly, and we ruled Sardinia. So this is when the Moors, go look at when the Moors ruled Sardinia, and we used to have the people of Sardinia enslaved, and we used to pack them up. and so that's where the whole term came from. So they flipped the whole damn thing down. So that's why sardines are really packed up in a damn thing like that, because this is how we used to do slaves. We get them all together, run them one certain way. And so Sardinia, the Moors ran Sardinia, and that's where that shit comes from. So we're gonna jump into the Native American connection.
Mongoloid tribe types like the Inca arrived. They encountered the Olmecs, who had already been living on the land. The Chinese considered the Black Olmecs as the descendants of the Black Chinese, Yi people, who Shan's people settled and mixed in with the Aboriginal.
Okay, people, mute your phone.
To the Aboriginal.
We're going back for a second. Hold on, because we got too many buzzes in here.
The Aboriginal.
We're gonna go back.
Mauritania, Tanzania, the Sahara. Some of these trees and balls back to Spain with him. And today, soccer is the favorite national sport of Spain. These Olmecs set up empires and cities that predates even the Inca, the Aztecs, and the Mayans. The Olmecs were not Siberians. The Olmecs were dark-skinned, big-lipped, wide-nosed Africans, just as they are portrayed in the stone monoliths. The step pyramids of Egyptians closely resembles the step pyramids found in the Americas. The double crown of Lower Egypt and Upper Egypt with the bird and the serpent is also found in Olmecan culture, Upper and Lower Egypt being Northern and Southern America. The Mexicans have 4 calendars. The 4th calendar is identical to the Egyptian calendar. In Mexico, there was found a type of paper made from a specific type of wood pulp that scientists say can only be found in Egypt. Even the ceremonial dance of the Hopi Indians is identical to the Dogon's Bado dance of Africa, using the same symbols and spirit names. Various tribes, such as the Osage and the Apache, use the crescent moon symbol, which is the national symbol of Angola, Mauritania, Tanzania, the Sahara, and Algeria, all found on the continent of Africa. Previously, I mentioned that the Olmecs and the Chinese combined to produce the Red Indian, and I will delve deeper into that right now. In the 4th century, a Chinese missionary under the Shang dynasty named Hu Xian, or Hu Xian, came to America in search of his people, who were the East Yi, meaning the Black Chinese. When the Chinese arrived, they encountered the Olmecs, who had already been living on the land. The Chinese considered the Black Olmecs as the descendants of the Black Chinese, Yi people. Hu Xian's people settled and mixed in with the Olmecs and produced the Aboriginal. The Olmecs gave the lower kingdom to the Aborigines. The Aborigines called the land Mujan, which is a combination of the Olmecan Ashuric Aramaic word mu, which means one, and the Chinese word Zhan, named after Hu Shan. Did you know that there was a province in China today called Zhan, and that this is the site of one of the only Chinese pyramids? Muzhan became Mijan and eventually became Mekjan, or Mexico. The Aborigines called themselves Mexicans, and they remixed with the Olmecs, which resulted in a sub-tribe called the Hopi. The Hopi clan was taught the religion of the Dogon and given the secret of the stars. Several hundred years later, the Hindu East Indians arrived in Mexico, and they bred with the Mexicans and produced Mongoloid tribe types like the Inuit and Eskimo, who migrated far north into Canada and Alaska. Out of the Mexican also came the Aztec, Inca, Toltec, Mixtec, and the Mayans, which were the 5 barbarian nations. The Mayans rejected their Olmec ancestry and gravitated towards their Chinese ancestry. The Mayans began practicing human sacrifices and cannibalism. The Mayans were banished by the original Olmecs and were told to leave or be destroyed. The Mayan relocated and sailed east to Asia and mixed in the Mongols of Southeast Asia and became known as Angkor. Today, the Angkors no longer go by that ancient name. Their modern day name is Cambodian. Yes, the Cambodians are really the Native Americans that were banished. This is why the ruins in ancient Cambodia are identical to the ruins of the Mayan Empire. History claims that the Mayan civilization just vanished. The word Mayan means illusions because it seems as if they disappeared overnight. The Mayans didn't just disappear. An entire ethnic group just simply vanished overnight. They simply packed up and moved to the other side of the planet. And you might be wondering, am I saying that the Red Indian is an Aborigine? Well, the Red Indian is a result of mixing between Olmecs and Chinese. This is why you have some Native Americans with dark skin and Negroid features, and some with light skin and Mongoloid features. Olmecs were indigenous Americans. Chinese were immigrants. Mexicans are Aborigines, who were the combination of Olmecs and Chinese. The East Indians that came here were also immigrants. As for the tribes of North America, the tribes of North America were a result of Olmec and Mexicans. However, some of the Mexicans continued to mix with the Chinese and produced yellow tribes like Pueblo and Manso or Mansu. The yellow tribes mixed in with each other and produced tribes like the Chinook, Tutuni, Kalupaya, Chumash, Oinut, and others. Tribes broke off from each other and produced even more tribes that settled in California. The darker skinned tribes were the tribes that managed to contain much of the Olmec blood, like the Arapaho, Arikara, the Blackfoot, Cheyenne, Crow, Apache, Mandan, the Pawnee, and the Shoshone. In the 15th century, all of this changed. The Europeans arrived for the first time, the Spaniards, French, British, Italians, and Portuguese. The Europeans mixed in with all of the tribes, black, red, and yellow, and they produced even more stocks. Today you will find white Native American tribes. The tribes that did not wish to mix with the Europeans were destroyed. The Incans were destroyed by the Spanish, who stole their culture and are now calling themselves Hispanic, which is a term that was popularized and some say even coined by Ronald Reagan. As far as the darker tribes or the black tribes, the Olmecs migrated into two directions. One group of the Olmecs migrated into the eastern islands near the Bermuda Triangle and settled in the islands of Jamaica, Haiti, the Bahamas, Trinidad, and Barbados. The Olmecs set up colonies on these islands and became known as the Arawaks. These were the people Christopher Columbus encountered. The Spanish and the British mixed in with the Arawaks. The Olmecs of Haiti went back to their African roots and began practicing their religion called Yoruba, which is mistakenly called voodoo. The Arawaks mixed in with the Portuguese and produced a tribe of half Negroid, half Latin called Taino. The Taino were invaded by another tribe called the Caribs, who were sadistic cannibalists. The Caribs migrated to an island known as the Caribbean. The other group of Olmecs traveled north and settled in Southeast America and became known as the Washoe, which means raccoon people. These people settled into areas of Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Georgia. The Washoe mixed with the Malian Moors of Africa who also came over. The result of this mixing was a tribe of pure-blooded black Native Americans called Yamasee or Yamasee. The Yamasee resided in Georgia and were the mother tribe of all dark southeastern and eastern tribes. Yamasee is a direct descendant of the Olmecs through the Washita Moors. The Washita is a derivative of the term Wichita, who are known as Kit-Kittish, which means raccoon eyes, which refer to the black Native Americans because of their faces. Thus the term coons was used to identify a black person. The Yamasee lived in Georgia on the Ocmulgee River near Macon, Georgia, and where the early Yamasee mounds were discovered. Today, Macon is also the home of the Harriet Tubman African American Museum. The Yamasee is the mother tribe of the Creeks, the Seminoles, the Apaches, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, the Catawbas, and the Cherokee. In the 1700s, the British, French, and Spaniards mixed into these tribes. In 1715, the Yamasee rose in rebellion against the English and allied with the Spaniards. Some of the Yamasee Creeks migrated to what is known as Savannah, Georgia, and became outlaws under the tribal name Yamacraw. The British began taking women and children into slavery. The native black American men mixed in with runaway African slaves. A war broke out between the Yamasee and the British in 1715, the Yamasee Uprising. Throughout the 1700s, many tribes were slaughtered. The remnants of these tribes band together to create an alliance. The newly formed tribes of Yamasee, Coosa, Cowan, Congaree were known as the Catawbas. The Catawbas spoke the dialect of ancient Kushite language, which was bits and pieces of the original Olmec African language. The Catawbas.
All right. So, as you can see, all the different tribes, or I don't like to say tribe, we're going to get into that in a second as well. All the different peoples and nations that the Olmecs produced from being over here. So, and this is now has been proven that the Olmecs or melanated people were the first people over here. They even had a whole documentary on it on National Geographic. They were called the first Americans. You can excuse me, you can Google that and picture it come up where they found the skulls and they did the reclaying of the skull and a blackface came out, black woman, I think it was, that came out. And so, you know, so this is our connection to this landmass. This is how we gain our the upper hand on the citizenship, or the type of citizenship that they can't really mess with. You know, this is our thing. So let me see, we're going to see another. So when the colonists first got over here, they first met with the Lenape, okay, Lenape Native Americans, or Aboriginal Americans. We don't want to say Native, you know, even though they think they like to be called Native, or actually they don't like to be called Native. They like to be called Indian. But you're gonna see why in a second. But this is the Delaware, or the Delaware Moors. They call themselves the Delaware Moors or the Lenape.
Coming out of hiding, the Lenni Lenape, and identity. Native American identity today is a complicated idea. An individual may find it difficult in today's society to identify with any one particular group. Native Americans could identify with a specific tribe or multiple tribes, or not with a tribe at all. In fact, many Native American peoples may not identify themselves as Native Americans at all. This identity confusion can be traced back to the U.S. government's policy of assimilation. Assimilation entailed the suppression of Indian culture and the adoption by Indians of mainstream traditions and technologies. This reformist movement was the government's way of helping Native Americans become civilized. The belief was that for Indians to be equal to other Americans, they had to adapt to by allotting land to Indian families. The government attempted to change the Native American view of land to one of property and ownership, which is contrary to traditional values. With the introduction of boarding schools, the government proceeded to further subdue the traditional values of the Indian youth. These schools instructed the students in the ways of the white man and forced them to wear Anglo-American clothing.
Hold on, not that. We're going to go to that one in a minute. That's after everything. You guys got to learn. Here you go. This is the one.
The Lenape tribe, also known as the Delaware, originated from all along the East Coast. This included New Jersey, East Pennsylvania, North Delaware, and South New York. This makes up 25,000 miles of the East Coast. Now, in modern day, you can find Lenape Indians in Oklahoma due to them being driven out to the west. The word Lenape means original people. The Lenapes became known as the Delaware Indians due to the fact that they lived along the Delaware River. In the Lenape tribe, there were many dialects used, but today only Unami, used in Oklahoma, and Munsee, used in Canada, still exist. In the tribe, there were 3 different clans. The clan you belonged to was inherited by your mother. The clans were Tuxwit, meaning Wolf Clan, Peel, meaning Turkey Clan, and Puku-Ango, meaning Turtle Clan. Something unique about the Lenapes is daily activity was shared equally amongst the men and women. Men would hunt for the food as women would cook it. Men built the houses, while women kept them tidy and in order by staying home and cleaning. Men would do heavy work outside to make the yard look nice, as women would do the same by gardening or making pottery. Each task done went hand in hand with one another. It was equally shared and fair and very advanced to do so. At first, the Lenapes welcomed the Europeans. They thought the creator of the land was the owner, not them. The Europeans sold them false information and soon banished the Lenapes from their own land. The walking purchase was introduced because Penn showed Lenapes fake legal contracts and deeds that they owned the land and had the right to remove the Indians. The Europeans took land the size of Rhode Island. Lenapes received no help, so when the French and Indian War took place, many Lenapes sided with the French. Afterwards, Lenapes began to attack English settlements for relocating them. This was a resistance to change. That is, until the first treaty was made in 1778 during the Revolutionary War. They helped against the English and were promised statehood. The promise was broken, and many were killed, Some Indians stayed, but with constant fear. In 1624, Lenape meet with the Dutch. Soon after, in 1663, smallpox spreads to Lenape. Only a year later, in 1664, the English take over the Delaware River. Starting in the 1670s, the English began to colonize in the Lenape area. Shortly afterwards, 1682, William Penn meets with the Indians and tries to earn their trust. In 1737, the walking purchase occurs. Lenape receives no help. In 1742, they are forced to move to the west. In 1755, the French and Indian War breaks out. Many Lenapes join the French. Also in 1755, Lenapes begin to attack the English settlements for the walking purchase and their relocations. This soon ended with the Treaty of 1778. Then started the time of the forced removement. Starting in 1795, they were moved all over the United States towards the west, until finally they were in the Indian Territory that we now know today. A very important event for the Lenapes was in July of 1682, which was when William Penn made treaties with all the Lenape clan leaders, such as Saapri and Nahusi, leading to the settlers gaining their trust. An important person to the tribe was Captain Johnny, who was the leader of the Turkey Clan during the Revolutionary War in 1772, which meant he had many responsibilities, but was killed on March 5th of 1782 along with many others. Like most Indians, the Lenapes had very spiritual dances. Instruments were important as well to the Lenape Indians, and were worn around the neck and
Okay. So I showed you that one because she was breaking off the treaties that she was breaking off the treaties. First of all, they got broken. They were promised to be intermingled with that government, but by the time that was supposed to happen, that the chief she was talking about was killed because they were warring. He was helping them out in war, but before they were able to consummate that agreement, he got killed. So that promise of joining the statehood and all that on the surface, huh?
I said died with him. They were talking about that in the 500 Nation documentary.
Oh, they were? Okay.
Yep. Broke it off same way.
So there's
motherfuckers.
yeah. So there's one, there's one on here that this it's I can find it. Man, I think I lost it. But there was was this it? Oh yeah, this is it. All right. So this
They are the Native Americans, the original Americans who occupied this country before.
Most of these people are light-skinned cats, but just know that the Lenape back in the day, they were highly melanated people, as they are. A lot of them are today. If you just go over there, but these are the people who are represented as such.
Were the first white settlers. Today, hundreds of tribes of Native Americans are on Indian reservations scattered across the U.S., striking a fine balance between thriving in the modern world and holding tight to their past. Native Americans hold a deep-rooted desire to protect the heritage, culture, and language of their ancestors.
The nations are all different. Their songs, their culture, their religion, language. There were 500 different nations, 500 different languages, 500 different cultures in this land at one time. And everyone tries to preserve that. That's their identity.
If we don't preserve that history, that culture of that specific tribe, we're losing out on something that may enrich the lives of our children, allowing these kids to come into the school systems to learn about the other cultures.
This especially holds true for the Delaware Nation, once one of the most powerful Indian tribes in the East, occupying the entire Atlantic coast from Virginia to Massachusetts. The Delaware Nation is known as the original or grandfather tribe.
The original name of the Delaware Nation was the Lenape, We were the Lenape, which means original people. Before any of the colonists came here, that's what we were referred to. Many of our neighboring tribes called us the grandfathers, and there were many offshoots, many sub-tribes that came from our tribe. Being on the East Coast for at least 12,000 years is what they say.
As the very first Native American tribe to sign a treaty with the U.S. government, the Delaware Nation was at one time even promised to receive statehood and congressional representation.
We were the first to start the treaty process. In 1683, we signed a treaty with William Penn and created the city of Brotherly Love, which is now known as Philadelphia. And then, of course, we made the first treaty with the United States in 1778. In the first treaty in 1778, Chief White Eyes went to the Continental Congress and offered a military alliance to the United States in the Revolutionary War in exchange to be the 14th state in the Union and to have congressional representation.
There is special wording that says that the Delaware Nation would have their own state, would have their own seat in Congress. And myself, I have never come across another treaty where this was promised to a tribe. And in this instance, the United States government desperately needed our help to preserve themselves.
We entered into a military alliance. We helped them win. Chief White Eyes became Colonel White Eyes in the Army, and was subsequently shot after the war before he could fulfill the treaty.
After being driven even farther westward by settlers and government control, the descendants of the Delaware Nation today live on their reservation in Oklahoma. As a people proud of their history and heritage, the Lenape Delaware tribe is focused on preserving and expanding their culture, language, and religion through economic development and education.
As a child, I grew up hearing about our history, hearing about what we needed to do to help preserve our traditions, to preserve our songs, to preserve our language. And having had that start in life, naturally, I want to go ahead and do that. And that's what I've done. I studied in anthropology. I studied Native American studies, museum studies. And my focus always was to come back and help my people, to help preserve our history, to help preserve our culture.
I would hope that people would learn a little bit more about their United States history and how beneficial my nation was to creating the United States. King George came back after the war and basically stated that the reason the Americans won the war is because of the Delaware Nation joined them.
Today, the future for the tribe looks bright as tribal members step into the spotlight to tackle some of the...
All right. We don't need to know about the tribal members. But, so you see what was going on. So they were, the governments and the Aboriginals, they were intermingling, but they were even doing it on such a deeper level. That's why you guys have to get that book, Exemplar of Liberty. As we showed before, they helped create what was called the Albany Plan, which was the precursor to the Articles of Confederation and then the Constitution. So they literally, as well as they got all that from the Great Law of Peace, because as you saw before, so there's that documentary, The 500 Nations. And this guy, he broke off right from the beginning. He was like, there were over 500 nations, over 500 different languages. Like we were out here just doing it. And, so from that aspect where they, we were fighting all the time. So you got 500 nations, just like if you got that many of anything, everybody's not cool. So there was a point where everybody, we were warring. And so this is how the Great Law of Peace had to come about. You have to have peace. The reason you're bringing about peace because you're having war. If you're already at peace, you don't need to have a Great Law of Peace. So that came in. We were able to work with each other after the Great Law of Peace came in. And so the colonists, they saw that and they were like, man, we need to incorporate that shit into what we have. and working with the Aboriginals, specifically the Lenape, for a very long time, for like 20 years. Benjamin Franklin and a couple other cats. This is how it came about. So the Albany Plan and all these different things. So in 1787, you see how they said 1778, they signed that treaty. And then Chief White Eyes died, and so they were supposed to be. And so there's very specific terms she's talking about. She said our tribe was known, and our tribe was going to have representation, which was a subjugated people, which they don't even understand. They don't really want that. But the Aboriginal Americans are mentioned in the Constitution within the preamble. As we broke down before, that term common, that word common. And so I don't know where that goes. So common basically meant is an incorporeal right, or which meant just basically a right or an incorporeal hereditament, meaning something that can be inherited, like a right or a privilege, something that's not tangible. You can't touch it, but it's an idea, a right or privilege that can be passed down and handed down, which is what we gave the colonists over here. We gave them our permission to use the land and cultivate the land and reap the benefits of the land, but they weren't able to own it because we didn't believe in this. We didn't believe in ownership. See, we were caretakers, but because we're indigenous, international rights recognizes us as being as having first dibs on the land because we're indigenous here. So if you come back in your correct status, you can get some rights back. Now, having said that, as we said at the beginning, trying to get your land back that way is going to be futile. We need to start creating a new way to get our things back, because trying to get that, it's like trying to, I don't know how many of y'all seen Friday. It's like trying to go get that bike back from Debo. You got slim and none chance of that happening. So, some stuff we're gonna get into today. So, we're gonna go over the Dred Scott case real quick, because that's very pertinent to what we're going over today. So the Dred Scott case, I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but real quick, it was a slave who had been traveling around with his owner to the northern states where slaves had been freed, and he had been doing this for about 3 years or so, and coming across other slaves who had been freed, and he was, I'm sure they're getting at him like, dude, you still a slave? Like, what you doing, homie? We free up in here. So he was like, so after 3 years, he went to court to sue for his freedom, based on the fact that they were in the free territories where slaves were being freed. So there was a lower court who had actually ruled in his favor. So then they had appealed, and so then the appellate court kind of gave a different decision based on certain factors within the that Dred Scott that he certain status factors, I should say, that he said that he was under when he implemented his charge or his plea to or his suit. So here we go. We're about to read the case really quick, or just go over certain parts of it. All right. Where's the first part? All right. So this is let me make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. Oh, it's just a screenshot. Damn it, I can't really. So let me see. Let me highlight it really quick. So I want you guys to see something. So okay. So it says there are two leading questions presented by record. One is have the court jurisdiction of the United States, have the circuit court of the United States jurisdiction to hear and determine the case, and determine the case between the two parties. And the other question was, if the court had jurisdiction, is the judgment it has given erroneous or not? And so the plaintiff in error, so this is what they call him right from the jump. They call Dred Scott a plaintiff in error. So the plaintiff in error, who was also the plaintiff in the court below, was with his wife and children held as slaves by the defendant in the state of Missouri and he brought this action in the circuit court of the United States for that district to assert the title of himself and his family to freedom. So you guys understand, everything is about status. I think we can see it better without this. So the declaration in the form, where is that at? All right, so the declaration in the form usually adopted in the states to try questions of this description and contains the averment necessary to give the court jurisdiction. So averment means like the agreement to give the court necessary jurisdiction. That he and the defendant are citizens of this state. That is, that he is a citizen of Missouri and the defendant a citizen of New York. Now, this is very important. The defendant pleaded in abatement to the jurisdiction. So an abatement to the jurisdiction means like a challenge. So the defendant pleaded in abatement to the jurisdiction of the court. So the defendant, who was the owner, he was saying, you guys don't have jurisdiction to hear this case because this dude is not a citizen of Missouri. So it goes like this. The defendant pleaded in abatement to the jurisdiction of the court that the plaintiff was not a citizen of the state of Missouri, as alleged in his declaration. Now, this is very important. Being a Negro of African descent, whose ancestors were pure African blood, and who were brought into this country and sold as slaves. That's very important. This is what Dred Scott asserted in his plea, in his suit to the court. He said on his document, he said, being a Negro of African descent, whose ancestors were pure African blood, who were brought into this country and sold as slaves. So that's the judge saying something very important. So, oh, wait a minute. Okay, so we're going to see the opinion. So the question is, can a Negro whose ancestors were imported into this country, that's very imported into this country, and sold as slaves, become a member of the political community formed and brought into existence by the Constitution of the United States? Now, that's a very important thing as well. The Republic Constitution, or the actual de jure Constitution, is not called the Constitution of the United States. It's called the Constitution for the United States of America. These are two different titles. There's a Constitution of the United States and the Constitution for the United States of America. That's a whole title. So they're being very specific when what they're saying. So it will be observed that, we're bought and sold as slaves, in political community formed and brought into existence by the Constitution of the United States, and as such become entitled to all the rights, privileges, and immunities guaranteed by that instrument to the citizens of which rights is the privilege of suing in a court of the United States in the cases specified in the Constitution. So he's saying like every citizen of the United States has a right to bring suit within the court of the United States. They're saying if he's not a citizen of Missouri, then he can't bring suit within the court, and the court doesn't have jurisdiction to hear the case. The lower court had no jurisdiction to hear the case. Now you're looking at it. They're in an appellate court, so he had already won the ruling in the lower court, the circuit court. The defendant appealed. Now they're in the appellate court, and so the court is deciding, did the lower court even have jurisdiction to hear the case, and not let alone give a decision based on the fact that this dude claimed that he was a citizen of the state of Missouri, and for you to do that, you got to show proof. So it will be observed that the plea applies. Now this is very, very goddamn important right here. Important shit. It says it will be observed that the plea applies to that class of persons only whose ancestors were Negroes of the African race and imported into this country and sold as slaves. Now check this out. The only matter in issue before this court, now I'm gonna tell you, if you guys don't understand grammar, when they're using commas, see, it's not one continuous, they're not trying to give you one continuous thought. They're pausing so that you can pay attention to what they're saying. So here's the pauses. The only matter in issue before the court, therefore, is, it's saying it just like that. The only matter before the court, therefore, is whether the descendants of such slaves, when they shall be emancipated or born of parents who become free before their birth, are citizens of a state in pleadings, citizens of a state in the sense in which the word citizen is used in the Constitution of the United States. And this being the only matter, they said again, and this being the only matter in dispute on pleadings, on the pleadings, the court must be understood as speaking in this opinion of that class only. See how they keep putting this of that class only, that is, of those persons who are the descendants of Africans who were imported into this country and sold as slaves. This motherfucker specified like damn near 800 times. We're talking about a specific class of people who termed themselves as being imported into this country and sold as slaves. Not people who are indigenous to the land. Because we're about to get into that, and we're about to get into that in a second too. So then he goes on to say, he says, the situation of this population was altogether unlike that of the Indian race. He's saying, so he said, you niggas imported into this country and sold as slaves is altogether different or unlike that of the Indian race. The latter, meaning the latter, which is the Indians, the latter, it is true, formed no part of the colonial community. The latter, it is true, formed no part of the colonial communities and never amalgamated with them in social connections or in government. But although they were uncivilized, that's a different term too, and it's bullshit based off of his next line. But although they were uncivilized, they were yet a free and independent people, associated together in nations or tribes and governed by their own laws. Now, the very fact that he said they were uncivilized, and the very next breath, he said that they were independent people, free and independent people, associated together in nations and governed by their own laws. What uncivilized people have governments and laws?
Well, he's saying uncivilized to the Constitution of the United States.
Huh?
He's saying uncivilized in the context that they weren't civilized to their government jurisdiction.
There you go. And so he says, many of these political communities were situated in territories to which the white race claimed the ultimate right of dominion. But that claim was acknowledged to be subject to the right of the Indians to occupy it as long as they as long as they thought proper, and neither the English colonial governments claimed or exercised any dominion over the tribe or nation by whom it was occupied, nor claimed the right to the possession of the territory until the tribe or nation consented or ceded it. These Indian governments were regarded and treated as foreign governments, as much so as if an ocean had separated the red men from the white, and their freedom has constantly been acknowledged from the time of the first immigration to the English colonies to the present day by the different governments which succeeded each other. Treaties have been negotiated with them, and their alliance, not allegiance, and their alliance sought for in war. And the people who compose these Indian political communities have always been treated as foreigners, not living under our government. It is true that the course of events has brought the Indian tribes within the limits of the United States. See how he went, these are different. It is true that the course of events has brought the Indian tribes, not nations, the Indian tribes within the limits of the United States under subjection to the white race. See, these are little factions of the nations, little breakoffs, Indian tribes, to the subjection of the white race. And it has been found necessary that for their sake, as well as our own, to regard them as in a state of pupillage. See how they say this shit? Pupillage. And to legislate to a certain extent over them and the territory they occupy. But they may, without doubt, like the subjects of any other foreign government, be naturalized by the authority of Congress and become citizens of a state and of the United States. And if an individual should leave his nation or tribe and take up his abode among the white population, he would be entitled to all the rights and privileges which would belong to an immigrant from any other foreign people. So,
be a denizen.
Yeah, he would be a denizen. So in this, basically, he broke off the fact that this dude, Dred Scott, he was literally putting himself under a status they had no relief for within their government. They said, look, dude, you called yourself a Negro slave descended from African slaves imported into this country. That's a very important, imported. Like, nigga, you weren't birthed here, so you have no indigenous rights to the land. You guys was birthed here, that's a different story. So, and then went on to distinguish him from what they called the Indian race back then, who are born here, who are indigenous to the land and have.
But in turn, Indians end up having no rights too. So
they were all the nation.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Whose background is up?
That's me. That's Jimmy.
My kids, you gotta turn that down, man. But eventually all the nations, they were still fighting with each other. We were all still fighting with each other. We were selling each other off, selling people off as slaves to the colonists. I mean, you had all this different stuff going on, man. Stuff wasn't, it wasn't romanticized like how it was this way and just that way. Man, it was all a big ass gumbo pot of shit. We were doing all kind of shit. So eventually these nations got whittled down, as well as them killing us off and throwing diseased blankets and shit. That's because that's what they did to the Lenape when they
absolutely
treaties and stuff like that, giving diseased blankets, as well as getting them hooked on alcohol that they brought over from Europe. Their little shit they had going on. So there was a little shit going on. Oppenheimer was one. I don't know if y'all seen the commercial Oppenheimer funds. They're a big fund. They're a big mutual fund called Oppenheimer. So
I know it is.
So Oppenheimer was an old family that, as well as the Gettys, the Whitneys, and all these people. They were old colony families who were rich back then, who were doing this stuff. So that's old family wealth money. and they were the ones who were doing they were running the alcohol and all the loans. They were doing the dirt. So while the colonies was farming and doing all this shit, you had the families, the old crime families. They were shipping drugs and alcohol and all kinds of shit. So this is how they became majorly wealthy over here, is dealing with the Aboriginals that way. But just eventually through, just a gang of shit, our numbers got whittled down and we became tribes instead of nations. And we're going to get into the tribe thing. I'm going to show you the definition of tribe. If it did it come in? Let me see. Hold on. All right, is that it? So I'm gonna show you the etymology of tribe first, if I can turn it around. All right, etymology of tribe. Community of persons claiming a common ancestor, specifically each of the 12 divisions of Israel, blah, 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 one of the political divisions of the ancient Roman people, race of people, class, set, persons, group, classifications, blah, blah, blah. So tribus, from the old French, tribus, the plural of tribute, from the Latin tribus, plural, tribus, tribe, from the Latin, it goes all the way back, tribal. So look at these words, tribus, okay? So watch this. So let me make it a little bit bigger. So tribute, tax paid to a superior. Transferred figuratively from the Latin tributum, use of the noun of tributus, present participle of tribuere, assign, allot, grant, probably to the proposition to divide among the tribes. From tribus, same thing, tribe, tribute, tribe, tribe. Confer with the French tribute. So it goes all the way back to paying tribute. So tributary, paying tribute. Paid in tribute, subsidiary, auxiliary. So one who pays tribute, tributary, or stream. So that is what a tribe is. One who pays tribute. A nation, you are sovereign. A tributary, you are subservient. You have to pay tribute to your lord or whoever whoever demanding the tribute, which is what we did. We were the tribute. Cats rolled into the Moor, or we rolled in, like we rolled in on some land because we had the maritime culture. So we rolled in up on some place. You had to pay tribute if that was our dominion right off the bat. That's why go watch that. Go watch the Dracula Untold that came out in 2014. It tells the story of how Prince Vlad Prince Vlad of Wallachia, who was Dracula, why he got so. In the story, it didn't go that way, but they're telling of the way it was in those times, and so the Sultan came and demanded from him after he gave service to the Sultan. He was like the illest warrior in the Sultan's army. He went back to Wallachia and was supposed to be able to rule and chill now with his family. Then the Sultan came over and said, "Look, dude, you got to pay tribute." And he thought he was cool with it. He's like, "Dude, what's up? I gave my service." He's like, "No, the Sultan, we need that 1,000. We need 1,000 boys for the Sultan's army, and his son had to be one of them." So he was like, "What? Hold up!" He was like, "My son." And so then he started tripping out because of that, and then he started fighting the Saracens or the Moors because they demanded his son in tribute. But go back and look at that, because he went to actually go give his son up, and it was in the middle of the exchange that some shit went down. But at that time, it was no dispute. The Sultan dude came in there and he said, "Look, the Sultan the Sultan's son, so the prince, he came in and said, "Yo, my pops need 1,000 boys for his army, like right now, and your son is one of them." And so that's how that shit went down as a tributary.
That's crazy. Cause wasn't in the 300 movie they said the Saracens fought against the what's the name? The fucking what their name again? Not the Greeks.
Persians.
Yeah. Right. They fought alongside the Persians. So it's like we on that side of the world. Well, the Moors on that side of the world, and they over in Blood. Huh?
The Persians are Moors.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like we over there fighting what's the name of those people? Spartans. There you go. Fighting the Spartans, and then we over there with Blood territory fighting them. It's like, oh, okay, so we all over the place then. Huh.
Yeah. Yes, we were everywhere, dude. Like all that region over there, dude. All that stuff was us. The Trojans.
Oh, that's the family on that side. Yeah.
That's us, man.
Scotland, Ireland,
all that shit, dude. That's what I'm trying to say, dude. We need to get back on what we used to do, was creating shit. So you have these Moors nowadays who want to go back and we need to reclaim this. We need to reclaim that. Okay, well, if you trying to reclaim some shit, we made every fucking thing. Go reclaim every goddamn piece of land. Nigga, go over to England, get that.
That's working backwards though. We need to evolve.
There you go. That's my point. We need to be creating new things. This is, we created all of that. Now all of a sudden we can't create anymore. Then the information is flowing back into us. We got more information than we had at any other point in time. And now we can't take this information and create new shit. That's bullshit. This is what we're supposed to be doing. So all the cats are trying to go and reclaim and the land was left in trust, and it actually was. All that shit is true. But nigga, possession is 9/10 of the law. Go and try to go. The homie Will said some funny shit the other day in a text. He said, "You're trying to bring a gun to a drone fight." That was the funniest shit ever. You ain't got a shot in hell with that shit. So you have to think of new ways on how to try and get that shit. So going back to our the Aboriginal connection and of this landmass, and you guys hear me say Native. My part of my clothing line is Native Amarukan, and I've said this on the show before. Amaru was the name of the land, or Amaruka, or Amarukan, which was the land of Kukulkan, or the land of the dragon. So this is the definition of Amaru, or this is what Amaru is. You guys can look this up too. Oops.
And that was Tupac's middle name.
Yeah, it was. But it came Tupac's middle name. He was named after the Peru, the Peru chief, and the chief of one of the tribes in Peru. He was named Tupac Amaru. So here it is. In mythology of the Andean they call the Andean civilizations of South America. Please, this is all is America. The Amaru or Amaro is the mythical serpent or dragon, most associated with the Tiwanaku and the Inca empires, who is the Inca? That's Inca, Aztecs, Mayans, Olmecs. So in Inca mythology, the Amaru is a huge double-headed serpent that dwells underground, illustrated with the heads of a bird and the pumas. The Amarus can be seen emerging from the central element in the center of a stepped mountain or pyramid. Pyramid, dragons, serpents. Who the fuck is that? A pyramid motif in the gateway of the sun at Tiwanaku, Bolivia. When illustrated on religious vessels, the Amaru is often seen with bird-like feet and wings. This also goes back to the phoenix and the dragon. Same thing. This is all us. Phoenix, dragon.
Real quick, Kev, remember a few years ago they were talking about what the new currency would be called if they ever had the New World Order?
The Amero.
What they call the Amero?
The Amero. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The new currency was called the Amero. Absolutely. It says the bird's like a feast so that it resembled a dragon. The Amaru was believed. Where's the next one? The Amaru was believed capable of transgressing boundaries to and from the Americas, or excuse me, the inner worlds, the two different worlds, the spiritual worlds.
Even with this description, it describes what's already on the FRN, the Federal Reserve Note, the Step Mountain, and then you got the eagle right next to it, and the seal.
Yep.
Phoenix.
There you go.
Always taking our shit. They ain't gonna put Sacagawea on the $1 gold coin.
That's true. So, allegiance. Okay. So it showed the term between allegiance and alliance. So allegiance, the obligation of fidelity and obedience to government in consideration for protection that, excuse me, that government gives. Obligation of fidelity and obedience. Obligation, obedience to the government in consolidation for protection that government gives. The citizen or subject owes an absolute and permanent allegiance to his government or sovereign until he becomes a citizen or subject of another government or another sovereign. The alien owes a local and temporary allegiance during the period of his residence, which is why you don't want to be no resident. Now, alliance. Oh, actually, here we're going. So, natural allegiance, American law, allegiance due. Excuse me. In American law, the allegiance due from the citizens of the United States to their native country, and also from naturalized citizens, and which cannot be renounced without the permission of government. You can't renounce your allegiance without their permission. It's some bullshit. So again, and so in the United States, it is a political obligation. In the United States, it is a political obligation, depending not on ownership of land, but on the enjoyment of the protection of government. And it binds the citizen to the observance of all laws of his own sovereign. See, his sovereign. I'm not the same. You see how they get it? I'm not the sovereign. It's my sovereign. The government is my sovereign. It has replaced your king. Let's see, did I get naturalized? So I had oh, wait a minute. Allegiance, and here it is, alliance, the difference. So the relation or union between persons or families contracted by intermarriage affinity in international law. So it showed you marriage is a contract. It just showed you that right there. It's an alliance between two factions that come to elevate your status in life. That's literally what marriage is. So in international law, a union or association of two or more states or nations formed by league or treaty. Now, see the difference between alliance? You are obligated as a citizen to your government. You are subject. An alliance is a union or association of two or more states or nations. These states and nations are sovereign. So formed by league or treaty for the joint prosecution of a war, offensive alliance, or for their mutual assistance and protection in repelling hostile attacks. The league or treaty by which the association is formed. Okay, so we're on equal grounds.
So, like in World of Warcraft, that would be the Human Alliance versus the Horde.
Wait, say that again.
In World of Warcraft, that would be the Human Alliance versus the Horde.
Versus the Horde. Oh, I haven't seen.
Oh, you don't know? Okay, well, basically, it's just a horde of orcs. They're basically tribes, nomadic peoples or nomadic humanoids or whatever.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure they got kicked off their land too, huh?
Basically.
Oh shit, see? Maybe dropping some science in there, I'm sure.
Right, they're orcs, like orcs in the Lord of the Rings, same thing.
Well, orc is actually a land. Look up Orkland. That's an actual island. It's over in Europe, off the coast of off of,
Surrounded by sharks.
yeah, it's crazy. It's literally a place called Auckland. I was tripping when I found that shit out. So let's see.
No, it's literally surrounded by sharks. Orcas. It's Auckland. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So let me see. So we did naturalized. Where is that? Did I get it? Natural. I didn't get it. Oh, I thought I had naturalized in here. I don't know. I just got natural law. All right. So we'll get back to that. So, Jay, you asked me if the term black was in the Black's Law Dictionary, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
black isn't in there. This is You see this black ward? So we went over color. Just go over color really quick. So we went over this before, but color and appearance, semblance, or simulacrum as distinguished from that which is real. A prima facie, or meaning at first glance, prima facie, or apparent right. A deceptive appearance. Okay? So, going back to Black Ward. So now, Black Ward, a sub-vassal. Whose kid is that in the background playing? We want to hear you, but not right now, brother. A sub-vassal. We're going to go over the word vassal. A sub-vassal who held ward of the king's vassal. So basically what that meant is the king has a vassal, right? So we're getting to the term black because black is a classification in your status. So black ward. So why would he be called a black ward, right? Because it showed that he was subservient of another subservient. So we're gonna go into vassal really quick. So a vassal is just someone who's subservient to someone else. So the king had a vassal, which could be a knight, and then a knight could have a vassal as well, which could be something like his boy or his forgot the other little term that the little dude was. So vassal in feudal law, a feudal tenant or grantee, a feudatory, the holder of a fief on a feudal tenure and by the obligation of performing feudal services. The correlative term was lord. The vassal himself might be lord of some other vassal. It says, so in after times, the word was used to signify a species of slave who owed servitude and was in a state of dependency on a superior lord. So, black vassal, going back to that black vassal, or black ward, a sub-vassal. You ain't even a vassal, then you're a vassal of a vassal. You a slave of a slave. That's some fucked up bullshit right there. So that's that status. And so let's see.
That makes perfect sense.
Hey, Kev, hey, explain blackmail.
You mean
blackmail was a tribute, remember?
Well, you mean in the ancient term blackmail?
Yeah.
Yeah, blackmail was when the Moors came up and demanded tribute. And they called it blackmail.
And it's all changed now. It's all freaked out now, but
yeah, that was the Moors when he come up and was like, nigga, what you got on my rent? Like, we have 2 chickens and like, nigga, chickens. You better give up one of them virgins, nigga. So that's how we went down. That's how we got down.
And that was actually a Scottish term because we were up there too.
Yeah, the Highlander.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
Those Highlander movies. That's all about us. The very first Highlander, with Sean Connery, when he's dressed in all this noble garb and all this and that. So when he's talking to the dude who's becoming the Highlander was you kill the dude, there can only be one Highlander. You kill one, and all the power from one guy goes to the next person and shit like that on through throughout time because the Highlander was immortal. So the first Highlander was Sean Connery. And so Sean Connery, when he was talking to the other dude who was about to become the Highlander, he asked him where he was from. And Sean Connery told him, he said, I'm from Egypt. I was like, get the fuck? He said, I'm from Egypt. I was like, oh, they will tell you everything in these movies. You just
they will
find them.
And damn near all of the Highlanders in that movie always either wore something dark or black.
Exactly.
I never seen Highlander, but you know, like even with
You got to see that, man.
even Steve Black though, the coach of the Golden State Warriors though.
What about
the Kerr Kerr means black too.
Yeah, Kerr means black. Yeah,
Steve Black.
And in the movie, his name was McLeod. And if you've ever watched any of Jose Pimenta Bay's, you'll know that McLeod was simply another lineage of the Moors.
Well, that's out of ancient and modern Britain. He got that. So
yeah, the Dubs and the Picts.
Anything with Mick or M on the front of the name, Douglas,
McDonald's.
Yeah, McDonald. Yeah, all that is from brothers.
Kara, Cress.
Kara. Yep. All of that. There were two famous female pirates back in the Caribbean, and one of them was named McCormick, something McCormick, and so she was a descendant of some Moors. But so you see Black Ward, guarding. So what is a ward? Guarding, care, charge, as the ward of a castle. So is the phrase. To watch a ward, somebody who's under your care or tutelage or pupillage, usually. So ward, a person, especially an infant, placed by authority of law under the care of guardians. So Black Ward, a vassal, a sub-vassal, a slave of a slave. So.
To look up ward of the court. That's a very interesting damn definition.
Yeah, it is. So wardship, military tenures, the right of the Lord to have custody as guardian. This is where that comes from. So military tenures, the right of the Lord to have custody as guardian of the body and lands of the infant heir without any account of profits until he was 21 or she 16. In soakage, the guardian was accountable for the profits, and he was not the Lord, but the nearest relative to whom the inheritance could not descend. And the wardship ceased at 14. In copyholds, the Lord was the guardian, but was perhaps accountable for the profits. So this is you're seeing all these different age groups is because you took on a certain status at a certain age. You ceased to be an infant or a minority, which just meant someone under the legal age of competency at a certain age. And so that's where that ward comes from. Now there's a term I didn't take a picture of, but if you have your Black's Law, it's called parens patriae.
Father or mother of the country?
So,
Father or mother of the country?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm looking at it right now.
You got it?
Yeah.
We'll read the definition.
Parents patriae. It says, father of his country, parent of the country. In England, the king. In the United States, the state, as the sovereign, referring to the sovereign power of guardianship over the persons under disability.
Under the persons, under what?
Under disability.
Under disability.
Such as minors and insane and incompetent persons.
Bam! Right, and going right back to minor, which goes to infant, which leads to lunatic.
Okay, ironically, the case is McIntosh versus Deal.
Macintosh. There you go. That's funny. So you can see. So and that then parent patriae is where you get we're in a paternal or patriarchy. So meaning of the man, the father, whereas you have matriarchs and patriarchs, father, mother. So patriot comes from that word. So when you're a patriot, that's your father. I'm a true patriot. You're literally calling the government your father, your parent. So it's very important to understand these terms. We'll go over some of these next time. But I want to get into shit. Okay, this is what I wanted to show you guys.
Ooh, shit.
Okay. Hey, little homie, you got something to say? So this is called Femme Collier or Collier Libre. Okay, so this meant women of free women of color. Up to the time of Civil War, term applied to all persons not of the white race, including Indians. All right. So that goes to this. This is where this goes to. The term free people of color. Okay, this is around 1764, 1796. In the context of the history of slavery in the Americas, at first specifically referred to persons of mixed African and European descent who were not enslaved. The term was especially used in the French colonies, including La Louisiane. This is going to be important shit, including La Louisiane and settlements of the Caribbean islands, such as Saint Domingue, which is Haiti, Guadeloupe, and Martinique. Freed African slaves were included in the terms of affranchis, but but historically they were considered as distinct from the free people of color. Okay, so but historically they were considered as distinct from the free people of color. In these territories and major cities, particularly New Orleans and those cities held by the Spanish, a substantial third class of primarily mixed race free people developed. These colonial societies classified mixed race people in a variety of ways, generally related to visible features and to the proportion of African ancestry. Racial classifications were numerous in Latin America. In the 13 colonies settled by the British and later in the United States, the term free Negro was often used to cover the same class of people. To cover the same class of people. Those who were legally free and visibly of ethnic African descent. It included persons of mixed race as well as freed African slaves. Free people of color played an important role in the history of New Orleans and of the southern area of La Louisiane, both when the area was controlled by the French and Spanish after the acquisition, where we at? Don't I get it? Wait a minute, where'd it go? Oh man, I didn't get that. But it was after the acquisition of the Americas is when they're saying their status started to change. I thought I got that one in there.
Click down on your little roller and it'll turn into a double arrow and then you can scroll.
Well, no, this is just a caption, a picture, so it won't be able. It's not going to scroll.
Oh, okay.
But so it's saying it started to change when America acquired the French territory. See, they started to reclassify them. So they were free black and they owned land and all that stuff. And they still and you have those descendants in the French Quarter still today, which is why that Katrina, you see how they had to try and wipe. They had to do it wasn't Katrina, it was the levees. They blew up the levees to flood that whole area to wipe all those people off the land because those people weren't leaving. They were indigenous to that land. They owned that. They had rights to that land from way back. So some of them were Aboriginal. They could claim Aboriginal ownership. Some of them were of that free class. When they became free people of color, they were given lands and stuff like that. So they weren't ever giving that land up. And there's oil off the coast of Louisiana.
I mean, they have a huge oil reserve.
Yeah. So they was like, they had to try and get there. They was like, these dudes ain't never leaving. Okay, there's no way we can get these people off the land. There was just no legal way they could get. They would be there forever. How we do it? Let's bust them levees. Bow. Let's get them on off. Give FEMA about 5 days before FEMA is able to go in and actually save anybody. Literally 5 fucking days. We're just gonna let these niggas sit in a cesspool of water for 5 days, and then get disease infested and all that shit. And then all right, now we're gonna come in when everybody's wiped off. But the joke's on them. A lot of them people came back and they actually stayed. They're like, fuck yeah.
My family is from New Orleans. Yep.
I got people from there too. All right, so we're gonna go over some of them definitions before we get off real quick. So let me bring that up, and then we'll go over the rest of this stuff tomorrow. Let me see. There was one thing though that I wanted to say, I wanted to show. About the government. Let me see. Is this it? The words people of the United States. In this ruling right here, the judge, he talked about the United States not being fully sovereign. Damn. He said they had some type of sovereignty, but not full sovereignty.
Is it quasi-sovereign? Is that what?
Well, if I can turn to sovereign people and every citizen. Question was before the hold on. It was more towards the top. Let's see. The question was depending on the United States judgment. Damn it! Oh, wait a minute. But this is it. But damn, did I get the other part of it? Oh, hold on. Listen. So, but in making this objection, we think it peculiar that in limited jurisdiction, the courts of the United States has been averted to. These courts adopted by the principles and so far the jurisdiction. No, that's not it either. But if you get a chance, go look at this case. First of all, everybody needs to read this case. That's not if you get a chance. That should be mandatory. But in this case, the judge somewhere at the beginning, he talks about the United States government being having their jurisdiction being enumerated. It's saying that the government was sovereign, but it didn't have full sovereignty, which is the most important thing. Damn it! And I thought I had it. I lost it. So framed by the Constitution, the duty. Damn, I lost it. So we'll get back. I'll find it and we'll go over that tomorrow. But all right. So I don't know how many of you guys were able to look stuff up. So the first thing, what is an autochthon? Who found that out?
An Aboriginal, bruh.
From the land, born
sprung from the land. Even though I said in your own words, let's give the actual definition. Does anybody have the actual definition?
Yeah, which one you want?
Autochthon.
Meaning you want the legal, you want the etymology, what do you want?
I just want the actual definition. Just give me the regular definition.
Where's my other book at?
Is he the only one that found autochthon?
Nah, God, I'm going through my notes.
All right, whoever has it can read it. Really?
So the earliest inhabitant of an area originating where found.
There you go.
You have autos, ancient Greek, and then ton, earth, soil, person born within this jurisdiction. That's from Ballantyne's. Oh wait, no, that's native. My fault. So yeah, it's autochthon. Autochthon.
Thon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daddy wants comfortable.
Thon. Yes.
All right. The earliest inhabitant of an area originating were found.
Right. So we're gonna the early inhabitants of it. So let's see.
Oh yeah, you started. Yeah.
Come on, come on. We got some slow internet around here. Hello, dude. So what was the next? The next definition, just while this is trying to load. So come on. Oh, there it is. All right. So this is for the people on so Autochthon, again, an original or indigenous inhabitant of a place. Aborigine. So this is going to be a term. Whose background is up? Mute your phone. You guys got 50 million things going on in the back. There you go. So this is a major term that you're going to use on your paperwork. Okay, autochthon. It's very important that you know that one. Aboriginal or indigenous inhabitant of a place. That would be you guys. So the next term or the next that we should have learned was, so give the difference between a free inhabitant, a resident, and a person who is domiciled. I know a couple of cats on here got that. Who got that quick?
So a free inhabitant.
Mm-hmm.
The whole phrase is not in the dictionary together, but you have to look it up separately.
Absolutely.
Use your own common knowledge, common sense. So free, not subject to legal constraint of another, having power to follow the dictates of his own will, not subject to the dominion of another. That's Black's 4th edition.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have inhabitant, one who resides actually and permanently in a given place and has his domicile there. Resident and inhabitant, not synonymous, the latter implying a more fixed and permanent abode than the former. So free inhabitant is not someone who just is a transient.
Who's passing by.
And he's not a resident, right? It's more domiciled than, hey, come on, man. I'm sorry, guys, my fault.
So it's someone who, a free inhabitant is, so we're gonna look at those other terms. So free inhabitant is someone who's made their home within a certain place. It's their fixed home, but they're not subject to another jurisdiction. Okay, this is where I'm chilling. This is my permanent chill spot, but I'm free in this chill spot. I don't owe my damn chill spot to anybody but my descendancy of being or my status of being a descendant of this land. So resident.
One who has his residence in a place, also a tenant, who is obliged to reside on his lord's land and not to depart from the same. So it's like indentured servitude.
Indentured servant. To reside on his lord's land and
not to depart from the same.
Not to depart from the same. So now domicile. Read domicile.
Domicile this is from Ballantyne's. The relationship which the law creates between an individual and a particular locality or country. Fact of residence and the intention to remain are the let me see. He can have only one domicile at the same time, though he may have more than one residence. So there's two things that need to occur when it comes to a domicile: the fact of residence and the intention to remain.
Intention to chill.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's what you guys understand. You're not passing through here. You are a free inhabitant, indigenous of the land. You inhabit the land, but you're also indigenous to the land.
Right.
And you are free. That's the main important term of that. You are free. Man, Jay and David, y'all kids look like twins, homie.
Hey, I wouldn't be surprised if Jay got a Filipino wife.
Man.
No, no.
But y'all kids look like twins, for real. That's funny. So, number 3. So what does common law with the dash mean in the middle? Did anybody find that out? You guys supposed to be doing this research.
I had an idea, but I'm not sure if I was correct.
Telling you guys how to be sovereign. I'm pointing you to the direction. Anybody got that definition?
Should I just
from Black's Law?
Yeah.
4th edition, page 346.
346.
Understood as contrasted with or opposed to statutory, and sometimes also to equitable or to criminal.
Which definition you reading?
So it had, within Black's Law Dictionary in the 4th edition, it had common law without the hyphen in the middle, and then in small print it had common law with a dash in between. That's where it said it's understood as contrasted with or opposed to statutory, and sometimes also to equitable or to criminal.
You say equitable?
Or
read that for me one more time.
Damn. Okay. Understood as contrasted with or opposed to statutory, and sometimes also to, I guess you can call it equitable, or to criminal.
Okay. Now read what's the difference between the common law with no dash. What does that mean?
All right. Common law with no dash. As distinguished from the Roman law, the modern civil law, the canon law, and other systems, the common law is that body of law and juristic theory which was originated, developed, and formulated and is administered in England, and has obtained among most of the states and peoples of Anglo-Saxon stock. As distinguished from law created from the enactment of legislatures, the common law comprises the body of those principles and rules of action relating to the government and security of persons and property, which derive their authority solely from the usages and customs of immemorial antiquity, or from the judgments and decrees of the courts recognizing, affirming, and enforcing such usages and customs. And what?
No, go ahead, keep going.
And in this sense, particularly the ancient unwritten law of England.
All right. So these are basically just court cases. That's all. That's pretty much all that means. You got laws written by man, and then you got laws when the courts interpret law, the interpretation becomes law. Okay, so these are two different things. The Congress can write a law, and then it can be ambiguous or vague, and then that question of the law is taken to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court rules on what that means. They say, "Yo, it meant this," and bam, that's what the law is. Okay, so that's an important thing, because if the Supreme Court has not overturned anything, then that is the law. Just so you guys know, the Dred Scott case has never been overturned. They said it was overturned by the 14th Amendment. It was never overturned by legal judgment, by legal decision. So that means that in Supreme Court, that case still stands. that case still stands. And also what that would mean is if the 14th Amendment was illegally ratified, that means slavery would still exist, or that what he stated in those terms of African slaves and people who call yourself Africans or Negroes or whatever the colorful terms you use today, imported, who are imported, or descendants of Africans who were imported into this country, you have no damn rights. Always remember that you have to let go of those terms of being black. And I know it's hard to when something has been a part of your lingo and your communication system for so long, it's hard to just to let that go. Which is why I jumped on Zoe one time when I went off, because Zoe's known this for 12 years. And
y'all making my balls itch.
Making my dick itch, I think, is what.
Where he really went off too.
And because he known this stuff for 12 years, and the fact that he keeps saying black is because it's like a shooter with a good jump shot. You know what I'm saying? He has a great way he communicates to people, that he gets his point across, and using the term black is a part of how he does that. So in order to, in order to stop, if he has to stop doing that, it's like tweaking your jump shot. It's like somebody coming and saying, a dude who hits, about, 50% from the field, somebody come and tell you, man, you can get 78% from the field if you just tweak this. And so you got to go through that learning period when you try to change that up. And it's real hard, but you guys got to start doing that, because most melanated people, that term is a legal term. It's not an adjective. It's a legal term that describes you in court, in law. It places you in a certain position in law. So it's going to be up to you guys.
I mean, it's strictly for legal purposes, though, because what you're saying is it's strictly for legal purposes. But swarthy and Moreno and all these terms, it still mean black, though.
No, they don't.
It does, though. It does, though. Swarthy means dark skin.
Complexion, yeah, but that's not black.
But black doesn't mean dark.
Right.
The word black doesn't mean that. We went over that.
Quantitatively, it means dark, but
black means pale or yellow. Remember we showed the etymology of that? So
I got that.
That's why you don't call yourself black. Black is,
I don't. Just for the record, but I'm just saying.
But that's what I mean. So black doesn't mean black. Like when the term blackamoor, if black meant dark, there would be
it'd be black or black.
Yeah, you call yourself black or black. Like
black or black.
I call myself black. So that was this when the Moors got subjugated, or when they lost power, they became black Moors or blackamoors. You the low niggas now. Y'all niggas ain't living high on the hog no more, nigga. So
and one thing that I found interesting, if you look at Federal Directive 15, so that's something you can find online. It's a publicly available government document where they classify each of the different, nationalities. Let's see, I saved it in the iBooks because I don't want to lose it. Let's see if I can find it real quick. But if you go under the term black, you're almost undefined. So then, it says in the appendix under Directive 15, and this was adopted May 12, 1977. And so, when something sounds weird, you'll know. American Indian or Alaskan Native, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of North America, and who maintains cultural identification through tribal affiliations or community recognition. So they're tied to North America.
Okay.
Asian or Pacific Islander, a person having origins to any of the original peoples of the Far East, Southeast Asia, the Indian subcontinent, or the Pacific Islands. This area includes, for example, China, India, Japan, Korea, the Philippine Islands, and Samoa. Black, a person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. So one thing about that is that you can't use the word you're defining in your
Yes,
definition
there you go.
because you still have a problem there.
There you go. You can't
And so,
use the word to define the word that you're looking at.
and so then what's a little more messed up as well is that it continues on. Hispanic, a person Mexican, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Central or South American, or other Spanish culture or origin, regardless of race. And finally, white, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, North Africa, or the Middle East. So being black is a little iffy, to say the least.
It says in the dictionary, if you look up in your Black's Law dictionary, if you look up white men, it'll say it doesn't mean what is it?
Does not mean Caucasian race.
Well, no, that's free white person. But if
Oh,
you
that's
look
true.
at
That's
white-
true.
If
That's
you
true.
look at white person, it'll say Caucasian. It'll mean Caucasian people, but then it'll start including and excluding people. So it'll say it doesn't mean was it Iraq or Afghanistan or something like that. It says it doesn't mean that, but it does include Syrians. And I'm like, wait a minute, but these niggas in the same land. So how you gonna not include these people is gonna be white? The Syrians is turned white and the other cats is white, but these dudes over in that line, on the other side of that line, ain't. So
They basically just did it to fucking separate everybody.
exactly. Now this is why you call yourself Aboriginal and not Native. I thought I got the word Native in here, but Ab means father. Okay.
Abraham.
From Abba, and this is in the legal dictionary. This is Black's Law. Ab from Abba, Syrian father. Okay, so you have the father originals. Oh, here it is. I did get it. So, wait a minute. Did I get native though? Oh, I didn't get native. Ah, damn.
That's how you know Abraham wasn't real, because Abraham is the father of Ram. That was his agents.
Well, damn it. I thought I got
I got native.
You got native? Read native for me?
Natural born, subject, or
Wait,
citizen.
say that one more time. Say it slowly. you skip right over that.
Natural born, subject, or citizen.
Subject. There you go.
Denizen of birth.
Mm-hmm. Bam. Natural born subject.
It's amazing how they like to popularize all these terms and words that we use, and they all mean subject too. They all have the same denotation of subject. Subjects. You can't be a natural, a native. You're subject, but they have everybody calling themselves Native Americans, Native this, Native that.
Yep.
Then what was the other word? Let me see. We just wrote it down.
Oh, there you go. I did. I got the white person thing. So
snap.
white persons.
White persons.
So Naturalization Act of 1990. Members of the white or so again using the term white to define. So members of the white Caucasian race as distinct from black, red, yellow, or brown races. Do you see all these colors? They just throw up in there and they told you color ain't real. So then whether applicant for the United States citizenship is a white person eligible for citizenship under statute enumerating classes of people eligible therefore depends not upon ethnological classification or group to which it belongs, but on whether members of such group with characteristics existing in 1790 when the statute was first enacted were intended by Congress to be classified as white persons. It ain't got nothing to do with your skin tone. It depends on if when the Congress is making this law, they intended you to be a part of this class. If they intend you to be a part of the class, you ain't white.
White means free, huh?
White means free or master. And statute uses the word white. Excuse me, where'd I go? Then to be classified as white persons. And statute uses the word white persons as meaning primarily European peoples who constituted the class from which virtually all immigration to the United States has come and who readily become assimilated into our civilization. So all the motherfucking immigrants over here in America, all of them came from Europe. This motherfucker said virtually all. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. Now, at the bottom, you can see it has been held to exclude a Syrian, but then an Armenian, it is held to been to, it has been held to include a Syrian and an Armenian. See that? But it excludes a Hindu, a Mongolian, excludes
recruiting.
A Filipino, a native of Afghanistan. So Afghanistan and Syria is them two places ain't that far away.
They recruiting. That's their recruiting process.
So you see, you can be Afghanistan. Y'all niggas ain't white. Syrian niggas, y'all white. y'all come on into the fold, homie. So let's do a couple more of these definitions, then we got.
And there's this book called How the Irish Became White, How the Jews Became White. Check that book out, but that's a good book too.
Yeah. Did you guys get when they were white and they were slaves? You guys got to get that. That's real. That breaks down that indentured servitude, Caucasian indentured servitude over here, which was the first slavery. They were the first motherfucking slaves over here. So I really want to get that. Nonpartisan.
Hey Kev, when you end the session, can you shoot me tell me those documentaries that you were showing earlier, the name of them? I didn't write them down. I was just watching.
Okay.
Give me the 3 names of the documentaries that you showed earlier, okay?
Okay. So give the definition. So what is nonpartisan?
So I have non meaning not, no, by no means.
Right.
And partisan being partial or a zealous supporter. So I'm just saying you're not partial. You have no allegiance. Not part of the whole, not on one side or another.
Is that the etymology, or is that partisan from the law dictionary?
That was from Ballantyne's, and that was from Ballantyne's, and I had to put them together because they weren't together in the definition.
In the Black's Law, you didn't find it in the Black's Law.
I don't think I looked in Black's Law at that time when I wrote this.
Okay, so nonpartisan. I'm gonna give you all this one quick so we can get to the next one real quick. This is the easy one. So nonpartisan just means I'm not subject to a party. I don't adhere to a party. Parties aren't in the Constitution. So if you're a partisan, if you're part of a partisan government, in these documents, you're gonna say United States Republican form of, or nonpartisan Republican form of government. These are the terms you're going to use. So United States of America, nonpartisan Republican form of government in the family of nations. That's going to be very important. That whole thing, nonpartisan form of government. I don't belong to any party system. So then, what does Republican form of government mean? Real quick, what does that mean? Anybody? Anyone?
A government constructed on the principle that the supreme power resides in the body of the people, derives all its powers directly and indirectly from the people, and which is administered by persons holding their offices for a limited period or during good behavior, not to be confused with the Republican Party.
Right. So Republican is a representative form of government. That's pretty much what Republican form of government. I don't wield it myself, but I choose somebody else as a proxy. Like you're gonna say what I'm thinking. And but in a Republican form of res publica. So the thing of the public. So these are you want to break that down. Res publica, thing of the public. It's our creation. So anything that's a creation of the public cannot rule the public. See, this is where you really get specific. Government cannot have a power over something that created it, which is what the creators who formed this. That's what they wanted. That was their whole purpose of giving only the government, or giving the federal government only 10 square mile radius of jurisdiction. Like y'all niggas ain't moving from this. Y'all niggas y'all better do the Cabbage Patch or do the nay or whatever you got to do in this little circle right here, nigga, because y'all ain't moving outside of that. So the federal government's like, oh yeah, well you did say we can move if somebody gave us land, or if we bought land, we can move out that way. So that's how we doing it. So this is how we're going to regain our power. We're going to have to acquire our resources. We're going to have to reestablish what we, you know what I'm saying, the things that we used to do, get that back. Because what's the point if we get an old government back and we don't have any city engineering skills, or we don't have, you know what I'm saying, any any financial industry skills. We don't have anything that can run this whole goddamn infrastructure or run an infrastructure just for us. What's the point? What you gonna take back? What the hell are you gonna do? There's so many integral parts to this damn this system that moves and that we don't even know about. we have no goddamn idea about. So this is why we have to reestablish, you know what I'm saying, what we used to do, our shit. You know what I'm saying? Real quick, last one. We're gonna do another last one. And what is the significance? No, not that one. We'll get to that one later. That take way more time. So did anybody find hawk? The word hawk
means truth or legal claim.
And what does hawkdar mean?
God.
No, I ain't find that. I know that.
Y'all found hawk. You should have found hawkdar.
It was right underneath it. Let me see. Type that in real quick. Hawkdar. Hawkdar, the holder of a right.
Yeah. Is that the only thing up there? The holder of a right?
Yeah, that's what it says in Black's Law.
Yep. So in hawk, I am the hawkdar. So in truth, I am the holder of the right.
Does that have anything to do with droid? I mean,
something like that. But see, hawkdar is this is showing you, they're giving you a little peek into some history and knowledge. That's Arabic. See, hawk is not English. That's not an English word. Hakadar. That's all. That's Arabic.
Yeah, that's Arabic.
And so and look, they're showing you a little something. See, this is all our information, but you know what I'm saying, you gotta really be, you're gonna have to be studied to say, oh man, this is nigga. Muhammad creating the first constitution of Medina. The first constitution was created by Muhammad. Y'all need to do that research as well. So the Constitution of Medina. Look that up. And it was funny. George Bush got schooled on that one day by a kid. He was giving a lecture at a college, and this girl stood up because this is right after this is right into the thick of the war on terror. And so he kept going in, and he kept, he was doing this. If you're not with us, you're against us, and whoop-de-whoop, and they're the axis of evil. And he was saying all this and that, and going back. And so this girl, just nice little small girl, stood up and said, I know there's been a lot of hate on Islam and Muslim and going back and forth, and and as far as Muslims being anti-freedom and this and that. She's like, but I don't know if anyone knows, it was actually Muhammad who wrote the first constitution. And she started busting him out, and then he was like, oh. and he was on. So she started busting him with the knowledge, the Constitution of Medina, and she started hitting him with it. It was so ill to see his face. She's like, well, but y'all talking about Constitution this, Constitution that, and Muslims created it. And she was a Muslim, she was a descendant. So if she hit him with that, it was so funny to see this motherfucker get stumped on that shit.
Was that in America?
Yeah, that was a college in America. Yeah,
she got sent to Guantanamo then.
Right after, get that bitch. Nigga said that to the Secret Service. You get that bitch. Hey, when I get off stage, get that bitch. But so that's some ill shit. So y'all just, knowing the history of where all this stuff come from, we are the progenitors of that. So even so the Constitution of Medina, as well as the Great Law of Peace. These are things that we already had. We were working diplomacy from time immemorial, dude. So, learning this stuff. Any questions on stuff we did today? Because we'll get over a lot of this stuff tomorrow.
Kev, give me those documentaries you were showing earlier.
Okay.
All right. So going off of that, the Highlander thing that we were talking about, in ancient and modern Britons, they actually used the term Highlander to describe the people
Yeah,
Iberians
that's right.
as Highlanders.
That's right.
Toward the
Right,
Welshmen.
the moorlands were called Highland. Were Highlands.
It's amazing in that, man.
You see that? You see that? And then you see. I don't know if you guys seen that movie Maleficent with Angelina
watching
Jolie.
all these movies. Yeah.
Yeah, she's called Queen of the Moors.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. She is Maleficent. Her full title is Maleficent, Queen of the Moors. Google that shit right now. It'll pop right on up.
Bullshit. What?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see this.
But you see how she's dressed in black. She has the horns. See how everything that everything they put us in is all evil. So let's real quick. You go back to Merlin, ancient Merlin. Merlin's his nemesis was called Morgana. It was a woman called Morgana, and she wore all black. and so she was the crazy evil. A newer movie that you can see that in is what's that movie with Nicolas Cage? Where he was the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Y'all need to see that shit.
Oh, I remember that movie.
That's a dope ass movie, actually.
Hey, Kev, some of us was fucked up though. Like Tipu Tip. Shit, Tipu Tip was fucked up.
Tipu Tip.
Hell yeah. Tipu Tip. So like, Tipu Tip owned the East Congo country. He was a brother though, but he sold a lot. He sold a lot of Africans into slavery.
Hell yeah, we do. That's why we in the.
It's just coming back on us. Huh?
Yeah, that's that karma. But you have to pay that off. But we
you ever heard this dude right here? This dude was ruthless, man.
Nah.
People tip.
Yeah, this dude was ruthless. He was rich as hell though.
Was he as ruthless as Idi Amin? Like
shit,
Amin was just a cold cat.
He was like Cecil Rhodes.
So these things that that they coming up with, dude. This is all us. We just need to regain our information, our knowledge on what this was. So more, like I said, Morgana, or that's crazy.
Protector of the Moors.
Even Merlin is the Mer M-E-R. That's more. All that is our shit. So let me see. The documentaries was. Actually, you want to look. So look this one up too. So there's the Delaware Forgotten People. This documentary was created in the 70s. They made this documentary in the 70s, 77, I think.
Okay.
And Delaware's Forgotten People.
Okay.
Another one was.
Oh, caveat for that ancient Mexico video. At the last 10 minutes, it talks about reptilians. So if y'all into that, y'all can look that up randomly, but don't disregard it.
Yeah, it's called Ancient Mexico, the Jai people. Or just XI. So ancient Mexico, the Jai people, or just put X in an I people.
What's it called? It's called Ancient
Mexico. Ancient Mexico, the Jai people, or G or Jai.
Okay.
And that's XI. Just write XI people.
Okay. Hey, in this I read this book called King Leopold's Dream, right? King Leopold's Ghost. Listen what he said about the Moors, though. It says, in the Middle Ages, almost no one in Europe was in position to know whether Africa contained giant birds, one-eyed people, or anything else. Hostile Moors. Listen to this, though. Hostile Moors lived on Africa's Mediterranean coast, and few Europeans dared to set foot there, much less head south across the Sahara. They was fucking scared. Dude. That was in a Leopold book.
Man, that's dope. I gotta check that out.
Man, I'll let you hold it. Man, they was
back at the old
them. They was petrified.
Dude, why you think go look in them there's the image of the black in Western art books where they show all the white people in hell, and it ain't nothing but black devils with the pitchforks. I mean, black oil slick black with dreads, twisted up hair. Like, come on, man. Big ass lips and noses with twisted up hair, oil black point and with the pitchforks. and a lot of them be on the naked Caucasian women. They were funny with that, but that's how they saw us. Every depiction of a devil in that time was of melanated people, and literally, and all the angels was all Caucasian people. That dude, and so here, this is the Lenape tribe.
Kev, what's the significance of like the Caucasus? I mean, what's the significance in that in congruence with Caucasian people? Is there any kind of
the Caucasus Mountains and stuff?
Yeah, the Caucasus Mountains and like the Black Caucus or the Caucasus in terms of law is what I'm asking. You heard about the Caucasus, right?
Oh yeah, with the meeting. That's the
So,
the meeting.
Yeah, what is the correlation?
Nothing really.
Okay.
That's one of them, that's just one of those legal words that took on a similar phonetic sound to another one.
But it's like Caucasian doesn't even apply to the pale man anyway.
Right.
That applies to like the Mongolians, the Mongoloids, those who live in that area, in that region. Ain't no pale people living over there.
Yeah, seriously. But that term Caucasian was put on him by Blumenbach. So look.
That guy.
I'll send you a video. I'll send you the video of this. She's a Princeton professor who gives the whole lecture on how Caucasian got its name.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What the hell do we call him?
His name is what's his name?
Mamluks.
Carl Linnaeus, and Blumenbach.
They were savages and they were called all different types of things back in the day.
Call them black. Shit.
They were vandals. They were more before they gave them the name. They were vandals and Goths and all these other different terms. They weren't Caucasian. That term they just grouped them. Johann Blumenbach just said,
Johann Friedrich Blumenbach. That's his name. Yeah.
Could you spell that? My fault.
Johann.
I got Johann, but it's the Blumenbach. That's the shit that.
Type that in Google and get the wrong.
I will get the wrong name though.
Look up Carl Linnaeus too.
Blumen, you spell Blumen BLUMEN
Like there's an umlaut in there.
EACH. Blumenbach.
So the other one real quick is this is the girl who's going to the celebration.
We were watching that last time.
I think this is the girl going to celebrate. Yeah, the Lenape celebration. Then she a little cute, little sexy Nanticoke too.
It reminded me of what that girl named that just passed away. That got killed.
Corinne Gaines. Oh,
she should have just said she was going to.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that was just terrible. That girl was so gorgeous. All right, so the Lenape, the original people, and then you guys need to look up that documentary Man versus Ford, because you're gonna really see from the Ramapo, which are still the same. We're all the same people. The Ramapo Native Aboriginals of New Jersey. They're the same people. You're gonna say they all niggas, man. I'm telling you. When I say niggas, I mean niggas. See, I'm from the hood. So when I say nigga, I mean a certain type of motherfucker. These are niggas. Sitting back, chilling, smoking, snagging, hats to the side. I'm like, these are niggas. And,
fucked over. That sounds just like
Hey, this on a side note, since we all in this together, man, y'all get that damn Cody box and save all y'all money on all y'all cable, man, and all them football games and all that crazy shit for $100.
The what box?
It's called the Cody box.
Put that shit on your smart TV.
Yeah, you get all football games, all that shit free. You don't have to pay for no NFL Sunday ticket or none of that. You don't have to pay no basketball for $100 one-time charge.
Get out of here. What it's called a what box?
A Cody box.
Cody
box.
KODI. Something like that.
Yeah.
My girl Brittany, a guy at her job was selling it. He sold it for $80, but it's basically just like
Amazon. That's what I got it from Amazon.
Yeah, it's basically that's what it is. All it is a program that they put on an Amazon stick. All it is a program that they put on an Amazon stick that basically links every video on the internet that streams.
Right.
You know, when you used to go to like Z Movies, like them. Basically, you got to keep looking for a really good provider then it
Oh, I
ain't
got charter, so I don't have no issues.
right. Right. So
You
it
can
links all
watch
that
all
together.
football
for the
games.
better
You get to
one.
watch any. Listen, movies that came out last week, you get to watch them. Everything.
Exactly.
What?
Yeah, I got that. I have that.
Everything, Kev. Everything. I'm talking about everything. You can watch news right now in Atlanta, Florida, Tallahassee. You can watch a croquet
If you
in
don't
South
say,
Africa.
hey, Jay, you better text me that right now.
I'm gonna text it to you. I'll send it
Stop
to you.
playing.
$100. That's it. No fees after that. None.
Oh man, that's where I get all man. I get a lot of my information from these damn different from all this bullshit. Oh, that's off the chain.
Yeah, they go international too, so you can catch the national channels.
All right, so any other questions real quick before about what we were talking about today? Because we had a lot to cover, so we're gonna cover a lot more.
I always have to ask, how do you go back to the Olmecs when it comes down to your declaration of status and determining who you are in the public eye? At what point do you even bring up the Olmecs? Is that just for your own personal reference?
No. Well, Olmecs, you bring the Olmecs is descendants because it's factual descent. It's a fact. Excuse me. Oh, let me show y'all this shit real quick, just because they didn't show the right Olmec, brother. Y'all need to see this, so y'all actually know that this was us. In case y'all got any goddamn doubts. So who was rolling in South America?
Whoa, look at that man right there.
Bam.
Yeah. They're like Balrog from fucking Street Fighter. Look at that nigga.
Look at this. That who the hell you think that is?
Balrog. That's Idi Amin. Look at the hairline too. Look at that.
That is us unequivocally.
Yeah, there's no question about that. No question about that.
Apparently, my lineage is Aztec as well. So in some
He
parts,
looked like Jim Brown from '62.
Dude,
what I'm saying, right?
He looked like Jim Brown from '62. But so now you know this was us unequivocally in this landmass. So you say that is because when they try to say, well, what's your connection? You're when they try to say whether you're not of the red race or whatever, the so-called Native Americans. You're like, well, dude, that's not who's indigenous to this landmass. The landmass was indigenous to Olmecs, and we've already been here, and we had been here for hundreds of thousands of years before any of those people. So this is where your connection goes back to.
Ivan Van Sertima, he did an awesome job.
Yeah, Ivan Van Sertima. Look up Ivan Van Sertima. They came
killed
before
it on
Columbus. So he'll break all that stuff down. So anything else, brothers?
Nah, I'm just about to start going in on these documentaries. I love that shit. All right, so we're gonna finish the rest of the definitions tomorrow.
Yeah, we're gonna finish the rest. We're gonna finish up tomorrow.
I gotta pick your mind about that U.S. versus Cruikshank thing, so I have an understanding. Definitely.
That's right. All right, everybody.
Yo, again, peace. You guys are awesome, man. Let's keep the movement going.
Absolutely. I'll see you guys tomorrow, man.
All right, brother man, not the other man.
I shot you that text too. Look at the text I shot you.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, brothers and sisters.
Those.
Yeah. Hey, Jay, we got to holler about the other stuff too, man.
Absolutely. We get up this weekend for sure. Well, I'm gonna be with you tomorrow anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,